just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. And do not forget, head over to our YouTube, hit subscribe, or go to our Spotify and give us a follow. Also, you can subscribe on Apple. We've got some big things coming, especially from the visual medium of things. Spotify now have a visual side of clips that they do, so we'll be doing that a lot. So make sure to give us a follow on Spotify. Give us a subscription on YouTube as well. Like the video. We'd really appreciate it. The great Roo, how you been, bruz?
I've been good, mate. Out there at Combank yesterday, unbelievable experience.
Oh my God, on the TV, it's something like genuinely what I love so much about, the Polynesian community being a part of rugby league is we get such a unique experience that you cannot get anywhere else in sport.
Yeah. And even like it didn't feel like an Origin. It didn't feel like a grand final. It just felt different to you were there too. Like it just felt completely different, didn't it?
It did. It had some almost like World Cup soccer vibes, just with like the singing and the all the colour. Like obviously like a big sea of red. Like red's a great colour for the crowd because it just hit you like you couldn't miss it. It was a great atmosphere. Great afternoon.
Man, it sounded so good on the TV. It sounded so. Timmy, mate, he's back. He's returned.
Back on deck, mate.
Wow-wee.
No, thanks, boys. Good to be back at the bar of a Monday morning, and had 2 weeks across the ditch. Had an absolute ball over there, and it was good fun. Had to cut the holiday a little bit short though. Matty called me in absolute panic one day. He said, "Mate, the ratings have plummeted. We need you back." Got me on an express flight back, and I've answered the SOS. So good to be here, boys.
Oh, that'll do me. That'll do me. Alrighty, guys. A huge announcement. DMP shirts are available now. They've been available for about a week. However, if you buy a DMP shirt, you go into the draw to join myself, Tom, and Eddie for round one next year's Footy Companion at the Hello Sport studio. That's right. So I'll most likely be over in Vegas, but the week when we get back, myself, Tom, Eddie, we'll be doing a Footy Companion on a Friday night most likely, but we'll actually talk to you as to what suits you best, whoever wins. You can bring a few mates along. We'll pay for everything. We'll wine, dine you, everything. Flights, accommodation if you're out of the state, bring you down, beers, pizza, whatever you want. A great night with myself, Tom, and Eddie. All you do is grab a DMP shirt. Now, we're already sold out of the extra large, so once these shirts sell out, there is no other way to enter this draw, guys. So if you want to enter, go over, grab a DMP shirt. We've never done this before with a DMP, so you want to get involved. And also, you get a bloody good shirt as well. So that is at bloke.shop. Make sure to grab one, guys. Once these are gone, you cannot enter. This is the only way to enter. And also, because it's just shirts, it's not like you've got 20,000 participants or whatever. It's actually a relatively good chance of winning. So go to bloke.shop, grab your DMP shirt, and go into the draw. You and a few mates, all expenses paid. A great night with me, Tom, and Eddie. Alrighty, let's get into it, shall we? Let's face a bit of music brought to you by our good friends over at Sportsbet. Oh, yeah. Now, this is almost wrapping the rugby league year up.
This is it, in a neat little package, the Pacific Championships. And it's good that Timmy's back because he can put some tips in this week. So that's good.
Forgot about us, mate. Forgot about work while you're gone.
I didn't forget. I just wasn't spending my holidays talking to you lot.
Okay.
Wow, a lot of sprite there.
Well, we'll see how that pans out for you over the course of the season. All right, so we obviously had the two men's games yesterday. We had a bit of a look at, and we also had a look at the Melbourne Cup last week. So everybody nailed the margins and the results for the games. Nobody landed a single try scorer across the weekend. Can you believe it? Dearden, Moses Young, AFB, Kinney, Papali'i, SJ, and Nene McDonald all failed to get across the stripe.
Oh, my God.
No try scorers for anybody.
So
everyone had Australia to win, Tonga to cover the line. Everyone had New Zealand 13+. However, we changed the order up last week, and after everyone else had put their tips in, Denon said, actually, I'll change from Australia 13+ to Australia win, Tonga plus 18.5. On reflection, you can't do that. You can't change after everyone else has put their tips in.
Yeah, fair call.
So I've taken a point off Kempy there.
No, hang on a sec. The only reason it was changed is because...
You're plagiarising.
That's outrageous.
What's the reason it was changed?
Because there was no benefit of it, like because the margin. That's what. So I was like, I realised, there's no benefit of it. Therefore, I'll just do the.
So as ever, all the other information's available to you. You said there's no benefit, so you changed.
That has happened plenty of times where blokes have changed their bets. That's happened plenty of times.
Not in the Pac Championships final weekend, mate.
Oh my God,
when the
that's
whips are cracking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what's going on. You know what? I know what's going on here. I've had a big end of season, and everyone's conspiring to chop me down. I get it.
Yep. Well, point comes off. Melbourne Cup again. None of us even. We had an each way bet. We had Buckaroo. Or you guys had Buckaroo. I had interpretation. You had Zardozi. Now Zardozi finished 4th. You got the closest, but unfortunately no one hit the board there. So not our best on the Melbourne Cup as well. So. And obviously, Timmy didn't put any tips in for a second week running. So
I saw it's a level, is it?
So here's the results for the Pack Championships. Rue and Maddie are on 11. Maddie completely turning things around from a pretty ordinary home and away season, regular season. Myself and Denon are on 10 after the deductions have come in.
Oh, my God.
Timmy, you are on 4.
That is actually outrageous.
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
The good news for you is we now move into your favourite sport, cricket. So you'll be able to make up a bit of room over the next
You also get
couple
to
of
sit
weeks.
next to a back-to-back champion.
Oh, my God. So
bad.
I'm robbed of the season victory because Rue doesn't have a team. And now the ref has literally just ripped a point away from me to win that as well.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Pretty much. And I haven't forgotten as well, obviously Timmy went away for a little bit. We're going to, the punishment for the finals, we have to go and score a full day of Sheffield Shield. So the next available day for us to do that is the SCG, Sunday the 24th of November. So as long as you haven't got any more overseas junkets in the pipeline around that time, we'll be heading down and doing that.
Yeah, it sounds like an awful day out.
I'm actually really looking forward to
Same.
it. Yeah, it should be good.
This is outrageous. You can't set your own punishments. That's unbelievable.
It'll be tough. It'll be a test of,
it's
concentration.
It's a big day. Scoring a whole freaking day of cricket.
It's not easy.
Oh, that'll do me.
Not as
That'll
hard
do
as
me.
scoring a full day of Face the Music results, let me tell you. Not easy.
Oh, I kid. I've been robbed on my own show. Absolutely robbed. Unbelievable stuff.
Yep.
Oh, well, there you go. There's Face the Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. The boys, they'll get down. They'll score a Sheffield Shield game. And also, just quietly, Hammy, myself made our debut on the B team on Friday.
Yes.
On SEN. So just so you're aware, guys, obviously the morning glory has come to an end. Matty will be returning next year. So they called the B team in. So the reserve grade has come in. We will be taking Friday mornings from 9 till 12 on SEN. It's called the B team for basically until Christmas, the next 6 to 8 weeks or so. And who knows from there on in. However, what we do know is we're just keeping the seat warm for Matty to return because we are the B team.
It was good. Good to catch up with one of your favourites, Chad Sayers, on Friday as well, the big South Australian.
Huge fan.
Yep, talking all things cricket. So
He actually said, that's a really good question. He said that. Remember?
He did say that.
He did. He said that because I said, look, have we waited too long to blood some young fellas in the Australian side? And he said, that's a really good question, mate.
Mr. Cricket.
There you go. There you go. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Give us a follow on the feed, guys. Really appreciate it. Up to 19,100 followers. Absolute legends. And I tell you, if you had got around me in the rugby league,
Yep.
Tommy 2+.
Yep.
Got that. Thanks for coming. Each team to score 1 try in each half. So that's Australia, Tonga, PNG, Kiwis. Boom, that got up. And we were this close in your multi in regards to...
We were just waiting on a Kinney try.
Oh, my God.
We didn't count it.
He said about 16,000 tries up, but he couldn't score on himself.
I think we should have paid out, to be honest, but
Yeah,
unfortunately wasn't the case. And just very quickly, in Dan v Denon last weekend, coming up this weekend, there is a 20-unit gap you need to make up. So you might need to start going for some roughies, and that might be a good week for you to be back, Timmy, to help Denon make up a little bit of lost ground in the in Dan v Denon. We've got the Rupert Clark Stakes and the 1,000 Guineas.
Yeah.
Are the kind of the big races to
look,
make it up.
as I've already expressed multiple times, first of all, Dan is clearly an Nepo baby of Sportsbet.
Yep.
Gets taken care of, and I'm going to be lodging an official complaint.
Okay.
I've got a picture on my phone here that evidence that he is a Nepo baby.
Yep.
And secondly, unlike AFL, we actually have an international game. So I'm here trying to take care of the rugby league community while he's focusing on horses. So that's all I'll say. And also, whilst I was punting on the rugby league, I actually got up on 2 things. So there's that.
There's some good points there.
Yeah,
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Hopefully you don't rob me on your show like you just robbed me on my show. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Well, we'll see.
All righty, it is time for the Hungriest Player, brought to you by Menulog. The Hungriest Player this week is Dearden. That is right. Use code Dearden for free delivery this week. Minimum spend is $30. Massive thank you to Menulog. Dearden is the Hungriest Player, and I tell you what a game from Dearden. And I think that when Munster went, basically groin injury, he wasn't available. The fact that so many people universally just said, yeah, Dearden will come in. And also, Dearden will do a job. I think there was a lot of confidence that he would do a job. But I think that not a lot of us thought that he would be this good in the, in the grand final of Pacific Championship. He was phenomenal. And I think it just reinforced the fact it almost reinforced times two the confidence that everyone kind of had in him. There was no yarns in the media about, we're missing Munster. There was, even when he came in for Queensland, there wasn't really that many yarns around, Munster being injured. And that's a testament to how bloody good Dearden is. But I tell you what, he is an absolute star in the making. And it's getting to the point where you play that, you win 5/8 of the year, you play that good in international footy, you're a very versatile player. He's going to be hard to keep out of that Queensland side next year as well.
Yeah, I think star in the making. I think he is a star now. He's a genuine, and as you said, keep him out of that Queensland side. Ben Hunt was in that squad. He wasn't on the bench for the Kangaroos. They went with Matt Burton, Tom Dearden, 5'8", best on ground in the final by a distance. Does he get the 14 jersey yet next year if everyone's fit? I probably lean towards he does.
Because I pretty much agree we'd all have faith he could play 9 if he had to.
And you've got Cotter if not, for whatever reason.
Exactly. Yeah. But his performance on the weekend, what I loved about it was in a game that required, the one thing that Tonga had against us was size and just pure size and power. And so in a game that needed almost like a small ticker player that was good in transition, extremely fit, constantly asking questions, that was our weapon as Australian side. It was fitness, it was ticker, it was hanging in the battle, and that's what Dearden did. Timmy?
Yeah, it was a career-defining game for Tommy Dearden, in my opinion, because he's had decent or good Origin games. He's had some big finals games for the Cowboys and whatnot, but he's not the fastest half in the competition. He's not a ton of size about him. He's very solid, not super powerful, and you sort of sit there and go, like, he's a very crafty player. He's smart. We know he wears his heart in his sleeve and all that sort of thing. But is he a little bit capped on how good a rugby league player that he can be? It was probably the first time on the weekend where he just absolutely tore Tonga apart, not just with his smarts, like some of his decision-making, his ability to target weak areas in the Tonga defensive lineup. I just went, no, as you said, boys, he's obviously not a superstar now, but it's probably the first time that I've watched him going, maybe he can be a superstar of our game, because he single-handedly, along with Tommy Turbo, dismantled Tonga.
Yeah. Well, we don't win that game if Dearden's not on the field. We don't win the game. We literally, he made multiple breaks, obviously try assists. On top of all that, I actually felt out there, and look, granted, Mitchell Moses had Olakau'atu running at him all day long. And I know Dearden also had Katoa as well on the other side, so it's not like he had no one. But you look at the stats, and clearly they were targeting Mitchell Moses with Olakau'atu. However, I felt Dearden was the dominant ball player in that spine. I really felt that Dearden, a lot of the time on fifth tackle, was calling the shots. I really felt he was almost steering the ship to a degree, at least in attacking ball. Everything that good happened for Australia in attack was really mostly around Dearden, which, again, says a lot for a bloke that's, 23, 24. And, I know I've spoken about it quite a lot, but his journey is such an incredible journey. He comes through the Broncos as the next big thing, gets thrown in the deep end way too early, gets blamed way too much for the problems at the Broncos, becomes, to the trolls online, not to anyone that actually understands rugby league, but to the trolls online, becomes a meme for a bloke that hasn't won a certain amount of games, and, people sitting there talking shit, gets through that and then puts a game on his back like that for his country. It's a great story about perseverance. And you go back and you look at his debut for Queensland as well, another incredible progression. And he just represents that typical, almost typical North Queensland type player with ticker, with heart, plays above his weight, Queensland kind of type player, and also now Aussie type player. So, mate, what a game by Dearden. What a game.
It's going to be interesting, as the years go on. As you said, he's 23 years old. He's captain of the Cowboys. He's dominated an Origin game and a decider as well. He's now dominated the biggest game he could have played for the Kangaroos. It's going to be one of those ones that as time goes on, you're going to look at the decisions and the way that the Brisbane Broncos handled him and just go, fuck, what a missed opportunity.
What a reflection of where the club was at.
Yeah, especially when Adam Reynolds retires in a year or two, and then you're looking for a halfback, and this kid's going to be one of the best in the game. He is at the moment. He will definitely be by then.
Yeah.
A real sliding door sort of moment.
And I'm sure there's some that listen to the podcast and they might get a little bit sick of how I always talk about, sometimes they would probably feel that I'm so pro player that I can never say a player has done something wrong or whatever, which is not true. Obviously, when a player they've got to take responsibility for their form, for sure. However, if you ever wanted to look at how important environment is, look at the fact that Dearden got moved on from the Broncos and wasn't playing anywhere near the potential he is now. If the environment was right, he would still be at the Broncos and he would be a crucial part in the club. Now, granted, the Broncos have moved on and, you know, they've got guns that are coming through, all that stuff, which is great. But again, just shows you the guy has the best attitude in the world. Like, it's not like he was this young superstar that came in with a shit attitude, and yet it still didn't work. It still didn't work. And
looking at sort of future rep teams and where Tommy Dearden may or may not fit into them, you go, like, from an Australian perspective, a fully fit, looking towards the next World Cup, Nathan Cleary, Cam Munster. You know, there are so many star halves in our game at the moment, and for Queensland as well. Look at the Australian setup where they had sort of Matty Burton on the bench as the utility, and you go, all right, Burton covers halves, covers essentially near enough the entire back line. But because they weren't really injuries in games, which was very fortunate, or no real major head knocks, Burton was utilised coming off the bench essentially as just a roaming sort of 13 and as another middle forward. Look at Tommy Dearden and go, people might say, oh, you know, he can only really cover the halves. As you said, I'd be confident Tommy Dearden for a 15-minute spell could have a run at number 9 at hooker, but if Matty Burton can come on and play as a 13, I've got more confidence in Tom Dearden to come on as a ball-playing 13 because he's a tough-as-nails defender, obviously a very good ball player, so maybe that's where he's, not to say he can't be a starter for the Maroons or the Kangaroos moving forward, but with such competition there, he really could be a 14.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so the fact that, you know, Benny Hunt was kept out of the 14 for Australia, maybe he may get kept out of the Queensland side, you know, by Dearden. We don't know. Obviously, it's a long way until that happens, but it could.
I mean, the other guy that was left out of the Kangaroo side was DCE as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, he's obviously the Queensland captain at the moment. I think he will be next year as well, but you know, they're going to have to make that decision at some point.
Yeah, at some point it's going to have to happen, and it looks like Dearden is absolutely the front runner. So what an incredible game by Dearden, and just a really good story about perseverance, about mental toughness, and also just like, you know, all the ball players that are a bit shorter or a bit smaller, if you got ticker and technique, you can get through a lot. You can get through a lot.
Well, isn't it amazing? Like at the end of the 2020 season, Ruben Cotter was a guy that played 10 games of first grade as a hooker at the Cowboys. And you had Tom Dearden, who was at the Broncos, completely unwanted. 4 years later, they're both in the Kangaroos side, captain of the Cowboys. Yeah. One's a 5'8", one's a middle forward now for the Kangaroos.
And look, I know that there are times when it is the player's fault, for sure. Like the player comes in with a poor attitude and blah, blah, blah. But you look at a guy like Dearden, it's like, never would have a poor attitude. If anything, he is one of the best attitudes in the competition. So even a guy like Dearden that comes through with skill, with a good attitude, with everything you could want out of a young player, if the environment isn't right, it cannot work. It's important. That's how important the environment is. What do you reckon, Hammy?
Yeah, it's good when good things happen to nice people, you know.
Yeah.
He's just like got a good attitude, works really hard, as you said. And there's a couple of times through the Origin series and the NRL season, like his defence and like, you know, not giving up when you know, Gus Gould often used to talk about like the Queensland spirit, you know, like players not giving up when the game's gone. Like he's one of those guys.
We won Tackle of the Year on Selwyn Cobbo.
Yep.
Yeah. So he was amazing yesterday. I couldn't believe how has he got the best dummy in the comp at the moment?
Mate, strongest hips. He's got the strongest hips.
Yeah.
Baby bearing hips.
Yeah, he does. good, strong childbearing hips is what he's got. But yeah, he was unreal yesterday. 3 line breaks, 3 tackle breaks, and 3 try assists.
Yeah.
He could do no wrong yesterday. He was on fire. And had he been in that 17-man shortlist for Golden Boot after yesterday, probably have to say he deserved it. But unfortunately, he wasn't shortlisted, so he can't get it despite probably delivering on the biggest.
He was pretty good. Obviously, he got that last try in game 1, but he was actually pretty good against the Kiwis.
He was,
And also, he was actually, if I recall correctly, he was one of our best players in the decider, wasn't he?
He saved so many tries in Origin this year with his defence too.
Yeah, I think in game 1 he got caught out once initially. No, was it game 1? Anyway, one of them he got caught out, and then since that moment he was amazing. In Origin. So what a story for Dearden. And again, if it doesn't work out at one club, doesn't mean it can't work out at another. And how good for the Cowboys, just identifying a guy like that and giving him a fair crack and opportunity, and look how good he is now. I tell you what, as a Cowboys fan, you must be sitting there going, we might have the 6 for Australia for the next, you know, once obviously Munster retires or, you know, maybe he slows up a little bit, who knows. He could be the 6 from, I don't know, from 2026 onwards, maybe for at least 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer. Which is bloody good to have. Dearden, Hungriest Player. Use code Dearden, DEARDEN. DEARDEN. For free delivery, minimum spend $30. Alrighty. It's time for, not a hot take, it's time for Beak to repeat himself. That's what it is. It's time for me to repeat myself. And what I mean by that is this. For a while with Tommy Turbo, first of all, couldn't love Tommy Turbo enough. Like, if you ever had doubt of the absolute superhuman super athlete this bloke is, it has been completely quelled in his performance during this series. I think he's almost locked in for Golden Boot.
He's got 1 foot in the Golden Boot, I reckon.
Surely. The Golden Slipper. They should present it to him and like put it on like a slipper.
Yeah, it would be great content.
Anyway, so he's been incredible, but it makes me look at that Manly side, and granted, a fully fit Turbo that's playing every single game, I want him at fullback locked in. I don't want him anywhere else, I want him at fullback. However, when you look at the series and you look how good Lehigh was at fullback, you look how good Tommy was at fullback, and his ability to swap shot, like look, we always focus on his physical ability, his ability to score tries, his ball playing, but just his footy knowledge and feel to know when to go to the other side to ball play and not be left in the lurch is incredible. It reminds me of what I've been saying for quite a few years now. Could you put Tommy in the centres at least just to get him through the season so he's running less Ks, his body's going through far less than it is at fullback. You put Lehigh at fullback, and then eventually, let's just say he gets through the whole year. Final series is just around the corner. You're 3 or 4 weeks out. Then you move him back into fullback if he does. I just think that they really should consider putting Tommy at centre for 2 reasons. Obviously, to get him through as many games as possible, but also Lehigh was so bloody good at fullback. Yes, okay, is he at Tommy's level? No, he's not, but he's pretty friggin' good. You get more reps there just in case anything happens, and also it increases the likelihood of Tommy staying on the field. What do you reckon, boys?
I don't mind it. Hopoate, yesterday was the first time I've ever seen him play live, and Christ, he's impressive. He just always seems to be in the right spot, and he's just got good awareness. Yeah, like he always just seems to be in the right spot all the time. And Tommy Turbo looked incredible yesterday, and I got so excited about seeing him at fullback again. But the way I look at it, if I'm Manly, if you play him at centre, you get Hopoate in the team somewhere, which you need to do, and Ruben Garrett gets to play his better fucking position. Like I think it's a domino effect, and I think I'll take the words out of your mouth. You just got to let Tommy roam, though. You've got to give him a license to do his own thing. And if you do get to the back end of the season and you can, move him back to fullback, sure, but I can see a world where they can just make it work, just allowing him to roam. Could even be in game that he drops back there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Swap sometimes.
Yeah, I think there's serious legs to it.
Yeah, I would keep Tommy Turbo at fullback. Okay. I think that if Tommy's coming back from an injury, and they did it for all of one game this year, granted it was back into the season, they needed to start sort of prepping for finals, and they played Tommy Turbo at centre 1 or 2 games, I'd keep him at fullback. I think, if he is on return from a sort of length or any sort of injury layoff with Tommy Turbo, you could play Lehigh there for a month sort of thing and allow Tommy to get that match fitness back into him and some Ks under the belt. I think one big thing would be, what all the data says, how much less work and running is there actually at centre. I know it sort of came out last year. Manly said that it wasn't that different.
It came out again that it was different.
I was going to say, I failed to believe that.
It's, in my understanding, when I was playing, it's like kilometres different per game.
Yeah, when that first data came out and they said that, I'm like, what? Who's coming up with this data?
Yeah.
I think there are a few factors to it. Like, obviously, to state the obvious, it's his best position, Tommy Turbo, is fullback. I just think another big factor is he's one of the best talkers in the game from fullback and organising his defensive line. His coverage, everything he does back there is essentially second to none. Now, that isn't to say that Lehigh Hopoate isn't as good, but what would they lose by putting Lehigh Hopoate defensively and their defensive positioning and all those sorts of things? So as long as Tommy Turbo is fit and healthy, I'd be 100% keeping it fullback. Barring maybe that first month back from an injury.
I see what you're saying for sure. The reason why I would put him potentially at centre initially is just for a whole season. If you're at fullback all the time, what's been his big issue? It's been soft tissue injury. So every game you play him at fullback, you're increasing his load exponentially each time. So by the time he gets to round 20, let's say he runs 8 Ks per game and he gets to round 20. So that's like 20. 10 times 8, 80, 160. That's 160 kilometres compared to, let's just say he's in centre and he runs for, I'll say, 4Ks. And that could be wrong. It might be 5Ks, but just say 4Ks. You're literally, by the time you get to around 20, you're halving the amount of kilometres he has run, which look, you'd have to go to NRL physio to get the real nuts and bolts of this, of how it would all work. But I would just look at it like, surely the chances of doing a soft tissue injury would be reduced drastically by halving the amount of kilometres he has run in a season. Again, that's just pure bro nonsense science. You'd have to speak to someone who actually gets it. That's just the way. That's why I'd put him at centre, because of the load over a whole season kind of thing.
Just to add to that bro nonsense science, to restrict that and sort of reduce the workload on Tommy Turbo, could you just give him a week off every 6 or so weeks? And I know you don't give him a complete week off and stop him running because you need to get a certain amount of Ks in the legs to avoid these soft tissue injuries. But could you just sit him every 6 weeks? Reduce his training for that, just to give his body a break. Again, I don't know how it works exactly, but
I would be opposed to that with Lehigh in the squad.
Like Lehigh, Garrett, Kohler, heaps of options. They lose a bit for 1 week, but still.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
I think he would.
Yeah, he 100% would.
He would,
Tommy
but
Turbo.
you take it out of his hands. Like, you say, hey, mate, we need you for a season.
Yeah. I just want to reiterate, like, mate, this guy is so much better than everyone else. It's actually ridiculous.
And that's the point of the conversation, isn't it? Like, if Tommy Turbo stays fit for a season, I don't care who's around him. Manly can win a comp.
Literally.
I'm so confident of it because I think at his best, he's the best player in the NRL. But we just haven't seen it in a long time.
What do you reckon, Hammy?
I don't mind moving him into the centres. I think it's good. I agree with Rue's point. I think it means the domino effect there. You get to put Ruben Garrick back out on the wing, and I think maybe that was a bit of an area.
Would you go Cooler in the other centre?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
I would, yeah.
I thought he looked bloody good on the weekend, Cooler.
He looks great every time he plays football.
Yeah,
I can't work it out.
Cooler and Turbo in the centres. Then you've got Garrick back on the wing, which I think is his better spot. And then you've got
Saab or Talao.
Saab, I think, at the other wing. And then you've got Hopwadi at the back. I don't know. I feel like that way you're able to get your best 5 probably backs out there and play them in positions that, probably bring the best out of them. And the key one is just getting bit more longevity out of Turbo through the season.
Yeah.
I like the thinking around, again, the bro science.
It's bro science.
Just cutting the work that he's got to do, or the just to reduce the soft tissue stuff. Because I think they're at their most dangerous when he's out on the field. But obviously the last couple of years he's always missed it, here and there. So if this is a way to keep him out there more, I like it. Yeah,
he's so good. I just I cannot just watching him play. You're almost, whenever he makes a break, you're just like, again. Like every big game in a rep game, he just dominates.
I know this isn't how things work, but if he had a flawless injury history, he'd probably have 5 Dalian medals. Seriously,
yeah. Like, if he had a flawless run of injury, he'd be the best fullback of all time, I reckon.
Yep.
Probably. And that's, just when you look at when he plays, when he's good to go, he would probably end up being, like, imagine 12 years of him at his best.
I think he would be.
He probably would be. And that's no knock on, Billy. I mean, to be extremely clear, I understand one of the biggest assets in rugby league is availability. Yeah. So that's a positive to Billy Slater rather than a knock on anyone. It's saying his availability is like why he was so great. It was the fact that he could play so much footy. It was the fact that he had that crazy injury and he came back and he did what he did. But it is something, we sit here and say, what if this, what if that? Yeah, Tommy Turbo. Because, you can go back to even just his early Origin career and look at him dominate. What's insane as well, we're forgetting, before his first game in this Pacific Champs, it had been 6 years since he played for Australia. What? Fuck, just crazy. He is truly one of those guys that if you say, on his day, one-off game, is in probably the best 17 all time.
He probably is the guy.
Just crazy. Anyway, that's our not so hot take. That's Beak repeating himself again.
Side note, the Billy Slater on horseback for the Melbourne Cup Carnival doing the post-race interviews was the collaboration I never knew we needed.
Oh, we needed it.
I was happy to finally see it because I feel like I've heard enough. Oh, he used to be a track work jockey. It's like, you've said it a million times. Show me or shut up.
Kind of like Cookie and beach sprinting. I want to see it now.
Exactly. Correct.
Yeah.
Show me. And finally they did. And I thought, to be fair, he was actually great.
He was sensational.
Yep.
His insights were brilliant. His interviews were brilliant. It was...
What is it, Slater's Thoroughbreds? Is that what his thing is? Slater's Thoroughbreds, his horse?
I don't know what he's called it.
Not sure.
I'm pretty sure it's called... Shout out Slater's Thoroughbreds.
Is he the first Queensland and or rugby league coach full stop to be on TV on the back of a horse?
surely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Slater's Thoroughbred, 16.6K followers on Insta.
Oh my God.
He's killing it.
Get around him.
Get around Slater's Thoroughbred. Shout out. There you go. Anyway. Let us know in the comments section. What do you reckon about Tommy and Lehigh and the backline for Manly? Let us know.
Just having a quick look at Turbo's last few seasons and just his win percentage. And I don't have Manly's up, but I feel like over the last 7 or 8 years, Manly haven't consistently made the 8. We all agree on that.
Yeah.
You know, if you win more than 50% of the games, you make the 8. Turbo, over the last 7 years, he's gone below 50% in his games once. And keep in mind, there's probably 8 to 10 games in that run where he's got injured mid-game.
sure.
Yeah, wow. Far out. So good. So bloody good. Alrighty, huge news over the weekend. Don't worry, guys. We will get to the Pacific Champs Grand Final review. However, just quickly want to talk about the Wallabies beating England. So last play of the game, is it last ruck, last maul, basically they play out the minutes.
Last phase of the game.
Last phase, yeah. The Wallabies score in the corner from a incredible flick pass from, is it Ikatu? Apologies if I'm... Ikitau. Incredible offload, and Jorgensen in the corner scores to win the game. Suaalii makes his debut, but just wanted to give a massive shout out to the Wallabies. You know, on this podcast, yes, we are a rugby league podcast. Yes, it is rugby league till we die, but we are not anti-union. We want our country doing bloody well, and the Wallabies beating England over in England is a bloody good victory, and we just want to say massive congratulations. And you know, Suaalii, basically, he got man of the match. Now, I'm not being a hater at all. I'm not being a hater. I reckon there were other people that played better, that probably would have got man of the match if it wasn't his debut. However, he still played really, really well for his debut. Like an incredible... I mean, when you think about the pressure that was on this young 21-year-old to go over to England and play his first professional rugby union game and play like that, it's incredible. So, stoked to see Suaalii killing it.
Yeah, it was unreal, and it was good to wake up on Sunday morning and just have group chats with something positive about the Wallabies.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been a long time.
Yeah,
since
absolutely.
that's occurred. And, you know, like, obviously, it was his first game. He was great, but, like, it's the first time I've really watched the Wallabies in quite some time. Like, and I don't really know what I'm looking at with the scrums and the forwards and that sort of stuff, but, God, there's some talented guys in that back line.
I want to see Ikitau. I want to see him in league.
Well, that Jorgensen, he played league growing up. He was in the same age group as my brother, and they played each other in 3 or 4 grand finals. And every fucking grand final, he'd score 2 or 3 tries.
Oh,
He'd
really?
kill it.
So
Yeah,
he's
he was
gun.
a gun. Yeah,
After the siren, would he score him as well in the corner?
of course.
Yeah, nice.
CBA of note.
Did you get a chance to watch him?
I did not watch the game, no, but
I only watched the highlights. I didn't get to
look,
watch the game.
any chance to knock the Poms off in their own backyard in any sport, unbelievable. I saw the highlight of the final try, and holy shit, it was a good movement. From
Incredible.
way to go.
Oh, mate. Yeah, all the movement, yeah, from where to go, 100%.
Yeah, I watched the extended highlights as
Yep.
well. Great, great game. I mean, high scoring, a lot of tries as well,
Yeah.
which was great. The Wallabies looked like they were running the ball. I don't watch a lot of Union these days, obviously, but like there wasn't as much kind of just like getting it and kicking it, and they were running the ball a lot,
Yep.
and it paid off for them, which looked really good. Shout out to Welsh journalist from the Times, Stephen Jones, for one of the worst takes of all time. He says, almost all the converts to Union from rugby league in Australia have been useless, but here is a man that may well be worth the monster fee that has been paid for him.
Oh, my God.
What are we talking about? You know, Tikiri, Sailor, Matt Rogers, Folau, all these guys have come over and absolutely nailed it.
Corabiti didn't win their player of the year 2
He
years in a
won
row.
it twice.
From
Two
the
on
wing.
the trot on the wing.
Yep. Sonny Bill Williams went all right.
He went
Couple
okay.
of World Cups. I mean,
Sonny Bill went okay, I guess.
honestly. Brad Thorne.
Yeah, he was all right.
Yep.
Yeah, not bad.
The list goes on.
That might be one of the worst takes all time.
Yep.
And also, like, Suaalii's just made his debut. It's been one game. So he's basically saying that one game has got more evidence of success than the careers of these other guys. But yeah, as I said, like, really good in the air. So to my understanding, Wallabies struggled in the air with a lot of those tap backs, and that's why Suaalii was so great for them, that he could get up and he's super athletic. Had a try assist as well. I think defensively, they to my understanding, he struggled a little bit. Not too crazy, but I think defensively he needed... look, It's his debut. It's his friggin' debut. But I'm just being super nitpicky.
That was a bit expected as well, wasn't it?
Of course.
Isn't that like the hardest spot in the back line to defend, basically?
100%.
Yeah.
Like, even if he had played Union his whole career and he was 21 years old and he was making his debut,
Yeah.
it would still be considered a good debut. Like, so bloody good from Suaalii. And yeah, stoked for the Wallabies. Well done. Beating England. Wow. And I tell you what, just from an extended highlights preview, the fact that there was a high-scoring game. I know that there probably are some Union purists that are sitting there going, this is crap defense or whatever. Like, I loved it. I thought it was much more exciting than some of the other games that I've seen, where you like go to the highlights and it says like, I don't know, 18-13 or whatever, and like there's only been one try and the rest are just field like conversions.
Yeah, 100%. And there was a few times where they ran it out of their own 22, like, got through, and like that's exciting. Doesn't matter what, code it is. Yeah.
So stoked for the Wallabies. As I said, we want the Wallabies to be around. We want them to be strong. They represent the nation, and we love that. So massive congratulations, guys. Alrighty. Hub brings together live and upcoming sport in one view, so you won't have to jump in and out of different apps to find where to watch your favourite sports this summer. Even better, sport on Hub is integrated into one easy to navigate interface across your favourite apps. And they have an amazing offer at the moment. When you buy a Hub, for $99, you can get Netflix and KO Sport for $25 a month for 12 months. That's right, Netflix and KO Sport for just $25 a month for 12 months. That's saving $7.99 a month for 12 whole months. It's sport and entertainment for less, plus it's super convenient. Buy now at hubble.com.au, and our Hubble user over here.
Yep, love it.
Love it. Alrighty, it's time for Beaks Bag, brought to you by Good Day. That's right. Who needs a good day? You need a good day. Use code DMP for 10% off at begoodhealth.com.au. If you actually use DMP and you subscribe, you get 20% off. So go to begoodhealth.com.au. I'm always smashing my good day. I literally finished my protein shake. I mixed it in with, so there's protein shakes that you can put with water, and they have like watermelon flavor in that, not just like thick, like, vanilla or chocolate. So I mix it in with that each morning. Every morning I have it with glutamine, with creatine, all that good stuff. It mixes nicely. It tastes beautiful. Go to begoodhealth.com.au. Use code DMP for 10% off. Alrighty, it's time for Beaks Bag. Don't forget, guys, if you want to ask a question, leave it in the comments section. You've got to be following us on YouTube. Hit like on the YouTube video, or Spotify. Got to be following us there. Leave the question. Each week we pick one and we give them a $50 bloke gift voucher. If you've won and we read out your question, email matt@blokeinabar.com for your $50 bloke gift voucher. Don't forget to comment your Beaks Bag question. Alrighty, this week it's from DMAC732. I feel like they need a long-term rugby league international calendar. It feels random at the moment. The World Cups are in random years, Pacific Championships are organised 2 months in advance. What would an ideal 4-year cycle look for you guys? First of all, I totally agree in regards to let's really sit down and get a calendar together so that we can know what's coming each year and build for it and plan for it. I get that. I just think that the reason why that's not the case isn't because the NRL want it like that. It's more because rugby league is in such a unique position where NRL is a league by itself, and yet it has so much power over the whole game. So like when you're trying to organise international games, it's actually a different entity that's trying to. I forgot what it's called, but it's a different entity. So the NRL has a lot of sway and power, and also the international governing body, they've got to work around the Super League and the NRL. And so that's why it's so hard for this all to come together. And if they were, for example, to go, all right, we're going to have no international footy for a couple of years so that we can sit down and work out a program, then you're losing out on building the international game. So what I think is going on with the Pacific Champs at the moment is like it's the quickest thing to put together. It gives the Polynesian nations, Pacific nations, opportunity to play more footy. In the meantime, in the background, we can work out what we do long term. And that's why I think we've heard whispers about the Ashes Tour coming up. And so I think that what you'll probably find is that it'll be a Pacific Champs each year with the Ashes Tour probably happening each year maybe, or maybe every second year, and then leading into a World Cup. Now, I think the reason why the World Cup was on a different year this time was because of COVID, I'm pretty sure. But I agree with the question. If we get a schedule and a calendar, look at the momentum we've created. Look how great yesterday was. I tell you what, an Ashes Tour next year, I think with Australia, will be friggin' incredible. And I've already said, I would love to work with the NRL to get over there, create content around it, and just make it as big as possible. But what do you reckon, Root?
I like the idea of a 4-year cycle. You know, obviously, I think it should be built around the World Cup every 4 years. And I know COVID sort of screwed around with that and whatnot, but it just, from a fan's perspective, like, it just feels like we jump around so much. And like I consider myself somewhat of a big rugby league fan. I never know what's coming.
Yeah. Well, the players didn't know. No one knew.
No. Like, and like, even to be honest with you, mate, like, even talking to people in the crowd yesterday, like doing a bit of microphone stuff, like, and there's a lot of people that I don't think even realised
New Zealand could get
Samoa weren't in the Pacific Champs.
Yeah. Wow.
That came up a few times, and I was like, oh, no, they went over to England. Like, oh, that was in England. I'm like, yeah. Like, just... Well, these are big enough fans to be going out to the final.
Yeah.
Like, they're engaged in rugby league, but it's just a little bit all over the place.
Well, I reckon most fans didn't realise that New Zealand could have got relegated last night.
I think the vast majority didn't know last week. That's for sure. They had no idea until like the NRL had to put out multiple posts on Instagram and stuff explaining how it works.
Yeah, which look, I think that again, I don't think that's because of laziness from anyone. I just think it's because we have such a weird situation with rugby league where the NRL is bigger than international footy right now. Timmy.
Firstly, Bloke Does UK sounds like the funnest thing of all time.
Oh, mate, tell me about it. I literally have already reached out to the NRL and hopefully we can get something going.
Taking the boys with you or what?
Hey, you know, if I can, I will. If I can, I will.
We're good on it. Look, DMAC is on the money. There does need to be more structure to it. And obviously there'll be a lot of logistical things. I'm sure there's reasoning why they do find it difficult. You touched on a few, Kempy. Like sort of thinking about it off the top of the melon, but an ideal cycle, as you said, Guru, all tailored towards the World Cup. That's always going to be the big one. I think even like in every second year, Australia versus England tour, one in Oz, one in England would be incredible. Like, I think that's really good. We're relatively evenly matched nations. Obviously, we've got the wood on them and have for a while, but you're still going to get great contests. And then I'd just be building on all the success through the Pacific, Samoa, Tonga, New Zealand coming into it, all of that. Whether it's a tri-series around those nations every second year while Australia are playing England, I think that'd be fantastic. But yeah, like knowing far more than a few months in advance what the schedule looks like and being able to build towards it and generate hype, I think it's a no-brainer. Like, it has to be done better. As we said, there would be logistical issues, but I think something along that every second year with the World Cup 2 years following, I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I wonder whether it's now that we've obviously got 4 teams that seem to be a little bit stronger, or 5. There's England, Samoa, Australia, Tonga, and New Zealand. They're probably the 5. So maybe every year one of those teams that aren't England are going over there to play them, and then the rest of them stay to kind of challenge for the Pacific Championships. Because just seeing the crowd and stuff out there yesterday, I was saying it to Roo when we're out there, like, can you imagine next year when Australia's not in this because they're in England and you're going to get like Tonga versus Samoa, and it will have that kind of like origin style feel to it. So, look, I wonder whether that's just the way they keep it going, because you want some strong teams playing England because you want a strong English opposition for World Cups and stuff as well. But I feel like the teams that are, in and around the Pacific Championships, I think they're getting a lot stronger. Like Tonga, there was a try in it yesterday,
and we'll get to it, but there was one that I felt was a try. Yeah,
exactly. So, look, I wonder whether maybe that's the way to do it. You just keep cycling them through. Obviously, you've got World Cups and stuff that interfere with that cycle. It's not going to be perfect, but it's good that there's more international footy being played and that the standard's just getting a lot better.
Well, I reckon if you take Australia out of Pacific Nations tournament and you get them to travel England, first of all, that'll make England stronger as well, and it'll create like a much stronger rivalry, because Australia versus England used to be a major rivalry in rugby league. Like, obviously it's still there, we just got to fan the flames a bit. But if you go New Zealand, Samoa, Tonga, like Tonga beat New Zealand this year. Like, they genuinely beat New Zealand in New Zealand this year. You bring in Samoa, but also that gives more chances. I know PNG got beaten quite handily by the Kiwis, but you go back to the World Cup, they just beat Fiji. All of a sudden, maybe like there is a chance that Samoa or Tonga or even New Zealand get relegated one year if Fiji just have one big game, like one incredible game, and they get... So that makes that relegation really, really interesting. However, if you have Australia in the Pacific Nation, there's almost like one spot that's just... I highly doubt Australia will get relegated. Now, look, maybe in 10 years, or less, 5 years' time, that could change. I don't know. But I just think that it almost locks a spot out. Whereas, yeah, if you have those other nations, it makes it the chances increased. And so I think from the outside looking in, it seems like they're trying to set up the Pacific Championship to be actually without Australia and make it more about the Pacific nations of Tonga, Samoa and all that. And then they can create that test rivalry with England where they each year they alternate or something like that.
And that's where I think, like, for the next 10 years at least, like, the landscape of how it is, you could have a World Cup and then the Kangaroos just play England every second year.
I reckon.
And you would have that Pacific. Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. The rivalry's already there across all sport. Like, it'd be brilliant. And, like, Tonga have to be playing Samoa every year. It's criminal if they don't.
I agree. Yeah. Unless they obviously get relegated or whatever. But the opportunity has to be...
They should be playing a game against each other at least every year.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I got to say, like, when that World Cup happened and seeing the boys, just from a purely content consumer, I love seeing the boys over in England and, like, you know, I know it's silly, but, like, taking photos of them travelling through England. Like, those tours, from a rugby league fan's perspective, I love watching the boys go on tour. I think it's really cool, really interesting. Imagine if you were doing it each year and they could start setting up, like, some good foundations for what they did next year, and, you know, people could go along there and people could time their holidays with tours and all that stuff. So, yeah, I love it. I love it.
Just on a kind of same sort of note, Tonga cannot possibly be a tier 2 nation anymore, right?
Well, so I think the tiers don't come with performance on the field; they come with resources. So, so the way nations are tiered is based on resources aside from footy. So for example, Tonga could come and beat every team in the world and be the number 1 team in the world, but there still would be considered tier 2 nation because they don't have anywhere near the resources that Australia, New Zealand, and England do.
Yeah, because it's tough. Like, I was thinking about, I was actually talking to someone from a New Zealand way of, you know, how this whole competition's played out, and they're sort of going, you know, there's every chance now that Tonga will be better than us over the next few years. We're giving players to them, and then Tonga also get to get players from State of Origin, which we don't, which I thought was a really fair argument.
Yeah, that's actually...
Like, if you look at just that game yesterday, like, Olakau'atu featured and played a very big role. Like, if they were tier 1, he wouldn't be allowed. You'd either have to choose Tonga or New Zealand.
And that makes New Zealand even less appealing as if you're, let's say you've got Polynesian heritage, you were born in New Zealand, but you moved here when you were 10.
Yep.
Choosing New Zealand stops you from...
Well, like, Casey McLean's made the decision to play for New Zealand. He cannot play for New South Wales now. Whereas if he was playing for Tonga, he could still feature.
Is he Tongan heritage?
I know. I'm just using him as an example.
Yeah, okay.
Of like, but it is like, from a New Zealand perspective, I think that's a bit...
Well, it's harder because there obviously are a lot of Polynesians that live in New Zealand, and if you're going to sit there and go, look, I get to play for my heritage as well as continue to play Origin.
Yep.
That's going to make that decision way easier than going and playing for the Kiwis.
Yeah.
And I know, like, you know, in a perfect world, we would just get blokes playing for exactly where their heart is, but it's the reality. It's the reality. That's a good point. I didn't even think of that. However, although I don't know what the solution is with eligibility with Origin, I don't at this stage want to block anyone from Tonga or Samoa playing Origin. But I don't know. It's an absolute minefield eligibility, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, we're only getting started.
Oh God. Because, like, it's ironic because I'm sitting here going, the last thing I want is Kiwis playing for Queensland.
Yeah.
However, like, then what's the difference between a Samoan or a Tongan playing for Queensland and New South Wales? Like, there's literally no difference.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming, introducing Manscaped's newest innovation, the Chairman Pro electric foil shaver, the game-changing tool that brings the luxury of a professional shave right into your home. So, what makes the Chairman Pro stand out? Well, it's about versatility and precision. It comes with 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads, one for a close, smooth shave and the other to keep your stubble looking sharp and polished. The Chairman Pro isn't just for daily shaves either. It's powerful enough to tackle up to a 5-day growth, making it perfect whether you're shaving every day or just tidying up after a few days. And here's something that's going to make your grooming routine even easier. The Chairman Pro is waterproof. Yep. You can use it right now in the shower. Get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code BLOKE at manscaped.com. guys, as always, support people that support the platform. We really appreciate it, Manscaped, for jumping back on board. And as I said, use code BLOKE to get 20% off and free shipping. Massive thank you to Manscaped. Alrighty, it's time for Australia defeating Tonga 20-14. What an incredible match. I mean, to think that we would get the blockbuster last week of New Zealand versus Tonga, and then the week after to get an absolute bell ringer of a game where I've got to be honest, I thought that Australia were going to run away with it. They handled that first 15 to 20 minutes really well. I was actually really impressed with the dummy half play of Tonga in the first 15 minutes. I thought they were really, I think that Australia their tactic was to compress their defence because of the big boys from Tonga. So what Tonga were doing, we're going, all right, let's get the dummy half ball past the B defender. And often you would see guys like Paddy and that, they would almost shoot up to get line speed and run past the ball as the ball floated past their head, and they'd get outside the B and C defender. What an incredible game of footy. And for Tonga, look, I know that some people go, oh yeah, Australia were missing, a few players or whatever. Guys, we're talking about a nation of Tonga that has 100,000 people that live there. Then there's 150,000 that might live in Australia and New Zealand or whatever. This is a tiny, tiny nation that has just taken Australia all the way to a 20-14 defeat. An incredible game and a massive congratulations to both sides. But yeah, what a game to finish off the Pac champs.
Yeah, and it felt like just after half time, I think it was Turbo scored in about the 42nd minute, and you sort of wondered if the floodgates were about to open.
Yeah, I thought it was going to.
I felt confident they were, to be honest with you, and you could feel a bit of momentum shift in the whole stadium. But being out there, and Hammy, I'm not sure what you feel, but I feel the crowd got Tonga back into that.
Yeah,
genuinely, the atmosphere was just electric. And there was a few times, in the corner I was in, where you saw the Tongan players, as I was walking back off the kickoff, just look up and just go, fuck.
Yeah.
And you just tell it was having an impact on them. It was, the atmosphere out there was incredible, and I genuinely think it helped their side.
Yeah. I mean, to think that, what do you reckon, 80-20 split, Tonga versus Australia?
About that,
Could have been more, I reckon.
Wow.
It was unbelievable out there.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. What do you think of the game, Timmy?
Absolute cracker. Oh, I'm jealous I wasn't out there. The atmosphere just looked incredible. Just the amount of noise coming out of the TV and the singing and all of that, it was just a brilliant atmosphere that's pretty rare in Australian sport from a crowd, to be fair. Australia's defence held up. The amount of pressure they absorbed, particularly in that last 20 to 25 minutes, was relentless, and you were just waiting for them to crack. The amount of one-on-ones that were made on our line in particularly that last 10, 15 minutes, it took an absolute powerhouse play from Eli Katoa to crack it late on, but Aussie's defence, outstanding, and it was such a fast-paced game because I love the way that Tonga played their footy. They didn't overcomplicate it. It was just their power game through the middle. They knew that when they're on and they're rolling forward, that their middles probably had the advantage over Australia, and they played to that. There's a bit of shape around the ruck, as you said, Kempy, but they played to that. So off the back of that, they were getting a lot of quick play of the balls. Australia did it differently. We were getting a lot of momentum, but it was through our ball movement, going side to side. It was good coaching. Just a ripping game of football.
Yeah, great game of footy. And what I loved is you saw both teams leaning on their strengths to try and outplay the other. I thought Australia did. I actually wrote in my notes at the start, how did Australia beats Tonga? And I wrote transitions in play. And what that means is that, and Melbourne Storm and Penrith are great at that, where a transition is players the ball has been kicked dead, you've got a 7-tackle set, someone's caught the ball in goal. Those transition plays, Melbourne Storm and Penrith are the best at that, because what they're trying to do is not giving you a second to rest. And also there is a natural human tendency when the ball goes out or something stops to just walk, just to stop your feet. And I thought Australia did a really good job. I think it was Tommy Turbo coming out his own end, Zach Lomax passed to him. That's when Dearden made the break. They did a really good job. Whenever a transition happened, they just got on their bike. And that's what they needed to have. They had fitness on their side, and they had size on their side in the aspect of being a smaller, fitter side than the Tongan side. However, again, the bigger Tongan side, what is the downfall of that? Usually you're going to fall away in the end of the game. If anything, they were the ones peppering our line towards the end of the game. Now, not a big talking point, but one of the talking points coming out was obviously the Tom Trbojevic, the cooler no try on Tom Trbojevic. Now, on the video ref, it says that Tommy was taken out. Now the boys think that Cooler passed the ball on his inside shoulder, which made it obstruction, which the video ref talked about Tommy being taken out, which I think confused some people. Now, I'm still of the mind I felt Tommy made the decision to make that tackle. However, you boys feel that it was caught on the inside shoulder, automatically no try.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. Tommy did make the decision to make the tackle because the guy had the ball in his hand. Like, once he passes it off to his inside, you can't then run behind him.
Yeah, I'm just of the mind that he makes a tackle. He makes a choice to tackle Cooler. Like, what I'm saying is, like, we were talking off air, is like, let's say he does make contact to him in offloads, it would still be a try. Like, if I would be okay if they were to say in the video ref, he passed the ball on his inside shoulder, therefore. But what I'm saying is the confusion is that the bunker is saying he was taken out. But even if he wasn't taken out and they scored, it would still be a pass on the inside shoulder. But anyway, you boys think that it's...
I think if Kohler throws the pass this way on the outside of his body, it's a try 100%, and it's a perfectly executed play. They executed it poorly by going back.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. I'm just saying that people are saying that there was an obstruction. Like, for example, the top comment on my thing, one of the top comments was that wasn't an obstruction. And I'm saying that you guys are explaining why it was an obstruction.
Okay.
What I'm looking at, I go, okay, we've allowed sometimes not black and white. We've given. I don't think Tommy's ever going to make that tackle. I think that it was I agree with you by the book, 100% obstruction.
Yeah.
I just think that I don't think Tommy's ever going to make that play out the back. However, by the rule book, it's an obstruction. I just wanted to, Timmy, I think you boys all
I think a bit of space was created for Tonga to go through. So I was happy with it being a no try call.
Yeah,
it also went up as a no try, so it had to be something pretty cut and dry for it to be overturned as well.
For sure.
It was a no try, and he was taken out. He wasn't afforded the opportunity to even slide and make the tackle because it was an illegal play. So I think 100%.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I think what confused people was the fact that Tommy wrapped his arms, and so what we're used to seeing is that short line runner, and if you wrap your arms around the short line runner, then that's a decision. But the reason why it's black and white is the ball was passed on the inside and he wrapped around a player. So that's what I'm trying to get across to the audience. That some people feel it was. Now I'm with you, black and white, 100% no try. But if we were to get to a point where we had a bit of grey area in the obstruction rule and everything, I'd be okay if they were to say, you know what, Tommy would have never got there. But you reckon Tommy would have got there if he wasn't the ball on the inside?
No, I just reckon. I just feel like we've seen similar instances to that all year, where the player opts to go for the tackle. They go, if I go for this, it's going to get blown up as a penalty. And I think Tommy...
Oh, you reckon Tommy saw what was happening and played for it?
Yeah, well, the guy, there was definitely a bit of an obstruction there, but he was like, if I just wrap my arms around him, I'll be sweet here.
Fair. Roo, you think the same with that, eh? You reckon?
No, I don't think Tommy so much played to it. I just think that's how you defend. If the guy's coming at you with the ball, that's the guy you mark. And that, once again, if he goes to the outside shoulder, they've executed it perfectly. And they've got Tommy all ends up. But because they went to the inside, that changes it.
Which is the point of the Shepherd rule that's been in rugby league for the best part of 100 years. I obviously have no idea when it came in, but that's it. He makes a decision based on it.
And if, for example, Lola Hare goes through the gap between Turbo and Moses just off that inside ball, it's a try and there's no worries about it. It's because he runs around the back of him that creates that.
Sweet. But outside of that, I thought it was actually pretty well... I mean, not outside of that because he got the decision right by the book. I thought it was actually a pretty well ref game, to be honest. I thought they let the game flow. I thought there were times where, let's just say some shots might have snuck up and hit some heads. And yet what I did feel about the game, and a massive rap to the players, there was no laying down. I reckon there was so many opportunities if this was a club game, they would have laid down, I got hit in the head or it was a crusher here. But because they're playing for both their countries, I did feel like they were both going into that game like, we're not going to entertain that. We are a tough side that's going to not be dominated by the other side. I thought it was a good game, ref-wise. Thoughts on the reffing?
And I also, I hope it just came through on TV, just how tough that game was.
Oh, my God.
Being out there, you could hear every shot.
Mate, seeing Ola Kawatu run at Moses, you're almost cringing.
Poor bloke.
Oh, you're cringing. He's so big and powerful and strong, and you try to go up high, he fends you straight in the chest or in the face. You try to go down low, his big friggin' thighs are bowling you over.
Mate, being out there, like you could just hear Olaquatu's bones. It was brutal.
That's what international footy's all about, right? Like there were players in there, and in particular, Hamole Olaquatu, Adam Fanua-Blake, Eli Katoa, Taumalolo, absolutely, where they just looked like they were going 15% harder because they were representing their nation. And that's not to say they don't put in it at club level, because you know they do, but they were clearly going harder than they do because they were wearing that Tongan badge and they wanted that win more than anything. It was incredible.
It was such a good game of footy. Far out, it was a good game of footy.
Just on the reffing there was one call that I found quite interesting where Hammer tapped it on.
And they're allowed to rule on it.
Since when? Because I was sitting there with my mate. I was like, you can't go upstairs for a forward pass, because there was a couple I thought that I can't remember who it was, but they got away with one earlier on. And but then they pulled that one up and sent it upstairs and go, no, he bats it forward. I was like,
so do they call intentional?
Yeah,
knock on.
And
yes.
you heard Klein say, because he touched it, it's considered a knock on because he didn't actually pass it. So you can rule on that now.
Interesting.
In international league, in NRL, do we know? Like,
oh fuck, I don't know.
Because I was sitting there with my mate and we were going.
I was surprised too, and you could tell the commentators were a bit like, hang on, okay, all right, we'll
like
go
it's
with
still
it.
the intention to pass.
Yeah. Well, the precedent's been set.
Might be the international ruling.
I don't think so. I think that's been the rule forever.
You can rule on the tap-ons.
Yeah, there's never been a thing where it's just always been a knock on. That's what the ref said. He's like, it's going up as a knock on. Simple as that. I don't reckon that was a rule change.
I don't think he's saying it's a rule change. Hammy's just saying he wasn't aware that you could do that.
Yeah, I thought he said, can we just check that tap, whatever. Anyway, I found that interesting.
Look, I'm sure you could probably go back and find instances of it being checked before.
Yeah, okay.
But it's just so rare. I agree with you. It was. I was a bit like, oh, you actually can do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I said, I thought the reffing was actually quite good. I thought he let the boys sort it out. There was a lot of physicality. I think that that's the whole reason that we love these games is because of the physicality in the international game or Origin. He let the boys play. In regards to reviews and performances, I guess let's start with we'll start with Australia. Again, I just heading into this series, there was a lot of talk about passion for the jersey. And there was one moment for me that I just love to see as an Aussie, and it was when Katoa made that break, and if you take a screenshot, there's like 6 or 7 Aussie jerseys in that screenshot. And it actually reminds me, and I'm not trying to be a dick here at all, but it reminds me of a couple of years ago in Origin where same situation happened. I think Crichton made the break. There's like 6 or 7 jerseys in it. And just to see the Aussies chase back like that showed you that although that there is this question around passion for the jersey, their actions showed there is passion for the jersey still. Yes, it may be expressed, differently or whatever, but the current playing crop in this jersey right now, they played for their country. They played with passion, and you could tell it meant something. And I know some people will sit there, oh, come on, chasing back a line breaker, an intercept, that's a normal thing. Well, no, go and watch most intercepts. You don't see 6 or 7 jerseys around it. You see 1 or 2. It's the 50 minutes of the game. It's not, Mitch Barnett's job in the front row to be sprinting down the middle of the field. That shows passion for the jersey. So I really did. As an Aussie, I love seeing that.
Completely agree, and it was a great moment. It was weird out there, mate. Like, I'm obviously proud Australian and whatnot, but just the influence of the crowd and everything.
Yeah.
I was almost celebrating more when Tonga scored.
Overwhelmed by the passion.
Honest, because it was just so much. You can see how much it meant to them. Like, just a quick story. Like, there was a family about 2 or 3 rows in front of me. Family, parents, kids, and whatnot, and they were there the whole game and everything, and celebrating together and dancing and carrying on. Everything was great. And then at the end of the game, I noticed that they said, "Nice to meet you." They didn't even know each other.
Yeah,
the kids didn't know each other that were there, and they looked like they were a singular family.
Yeah.
To me, and it's just the way that the crowd was just together was unbelievable. I've never really seen anything like it.
That's a beauty of sport.
Yeah.
You can be from purely you could be polar opposite walks of life. It just brings you together.
And the amount of Tongan fans walking around with an Australian flag and a Tongan flag.
Oh, that's cool.
They sang the anthem the same, both of them.
Yeah,
it's just incredible.
Yeah. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, you flagged that moment, Kemby, for you in terms of Australian playing for their jersey and what it meant for them. I think you could just pencil in the last 15 minutes of the game and the amount of one-on-one try savers that players made on the line on absolute steamrolling Fanua-Blake Olakau'a to, all these big boys. And there was one from newly anointed captain in Isaiah Yeo, 72nd minute, and he had Olakau'a to basically point blank on the line with him, and he just chops him one-on-one, and he just went, how?
Yeah.
And he was just like, you're not getting through me. I do not have to do. I know Hammy flagged Harry Grant one as well around the same period, but with the momentum that Tonga had there and the pressure they were building on the line for Australia, they broke it with a kick through, which is sweet. What do you do about that? And then eventually, Ellie Katoa cracked from dummy half. But some of those defensive plays on the line was incredible.
Yeah, tough end of the ground to defend it as well, because I'd say that was probably the most vocal, noisiest end of the ground as well, right behind the Aussies. The way that they ripped in. And that Harry Grant one in particular, again, I was sitting there with my mate and he goes, geez, who made that tackle? And then he kind of got up and dusted himself off, having made his 53rd tackle for the day or whatever it was. He was very impressive. I thought Harry Grant with a lot of those one-on-one efforts, but it was to be able to withhold that at the end of the game where they had their tails up was pretty good by Australia.
And just to reflect how hard it was, Isaiah Yeo hadn't missed a minute. He made that tackle and went off at the end of the set.
Wow.
Gassed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Isaiah never gasses. Literally never gasses.
And he missed a tackle yesterday too.
Oh, no.
50 made, 1 missed.
No, in that kind of game.
Unbelievable. Even I mentioned you guys off mic. Hudson Young made 51 tackles. I didn't even realise he only played 72 minutes. Made 51 tackles on an edge in 72 minutes. And
that's the thing. As I said, heading into this, the big yarn around Australia was passion for the jersey. Have we got the same as other nations? And look, it's hard to compare because everyone expresses passion differently. But all I can speak is from my perspective as an Australian, as someone that is very proud to be Australian. I couldn't have been more proud with how they represented the jersey. I was very proud as an Aussie watching that. And just as you guys already mentioned, that last 10 minutes when you are truly putting your body on the line against some of the biggest athletes literally in the world. Like Tongans are literally, on average, some of the biggest humans in the world, and you're putting your body on the line like that to win for your nation. I loved it. Now, in regards to some individual performances, look, I'll be a little bit of a negative Nancy, bit of a Debbie Downer. Shout out, Mum. I think Mal's use of the bench, leaving Lindsay Smith off until the last 7 minutes with how hectic the game was and how much we needed an extra forward. And Burton, what did he end up getting?
8 minutes.
8 minutes?
10 tackles in 8 minutes.
2 bench spots being... look, we got the job done. And I know I'm being Debbie Downer. But surely we could utilise 2 of those bench spots.
Yeah, and I know I've harped on about it all series, but when I arrived there yesterday and saw how hot it was out there, I 100% would have had Ben Hunt on my bench to go with Harry Grant. Yeah. Mate, it was stinking hot out there.
So, look, it's hard to be critical. We got the win. Got the win, but I just wonder, surely if you're going to back Lindsay Smith in, you get him in there.
And it's without no discredit to Tonga's performance, it was incredible. We all sort of agreed. We all thought that it looked like the Kangaroos were going to go on with that, and it could have turned into a bit of a score, and that Tonga would be the ones running out of steam. And then even just to see, Mitchie Barnett played 26 minutes, that's okay, but your other front row off the bench played 6 minutes. Reuben Cotter, a big minute middle, played 43 minutes. So these front rowers, the entire pack were forced to play really, really big minutes. It didn't really add up to me because Tonga were the ones storming home and looked the better for that last 15 to 20.
Well, I feel like, imagine if we had have actually given them minutes, we could have brought Paddy and that back on potentially and taken it to them and almost kicked on with the game to a degree. Now, granted, maybe Mal's sitting there going, well, the starting pack offers me so much of what I want and they're better defenders, I guess. I don't know. But then I look at a guy like Reuben Cotter, I'm like, man, you don't get much better than that.
Yep.
So that was I was a little bit surprised at. I'm just trying to look at the minutes of Paddy in that. Because you look at Lindsay, don't get me wrong, I thought Lindsay, the eye test, actually watching him play, he was great. Some of his kick chases were outstanding. But then you look at his stats, in attack, he ran for another 43 metres. Again, to be clear, I actually thought he did a good job, but surely there's going to be someone else you could bring on to not gas him so much he can only have 4 or 5 runs. It's unless it seems like an actual tactic from Mal where he's like, look, I can get my meters from someone else and I just want Lindsay on there for his defence. Because Lindsay in defence is... I actually put it in my notes. Right at the end, with Lindsay Collins, 22 minutes into the second half, he he's leading the kick chase where Lehigh would have made a break if he didn't, because it was an early kick.
Yep.
He then chases both tackles after that, makes 3 tackles in a row. The next set, he leads that kick chase. And so for people that are critical of Lindsay's meters in attack, it's actually clearly his job is those moments. But when I look at that, I go, well, surely you could help him with that by giving other forwards some more minutes.
But even like you look at the missed tackles of the pack, and first to get out of the way, Tonga was so powerful. There are going to be tackle breaks. There are going to be missed tackles, like, of course. But like missed tackles, Pat Carrigan 3, Harry Grant 9, Collins 4, Angus Crichton 8, Hudson Young 7. It makes Isaiah Yo's 1 make even more ridiculous. But they'd nearly all be season highs without looking for those players.
Yeah.
Like, it had to be, surely those 4 minutes, as you said, boys, very hot day out there, could have been dispersed a little better.
Yeah.
Well, it's 30 missed tackles between Carrigan, Grant, Collins, Crichton, and Young. That's ridiculous. That's
and then not just defensively, but there were fatigue errors in that last 15 minutes where really
Paddy had a fatigue error. It very rarely does. Hudson Young error, Angus Crichton error. Harry Grant had 2 errors. Look, being critical, just looking at going forward, I think.
Especially like with a guy like Hudson Young, Hudson Young has played 2 games coming off the bench for minimal minutes in the last 2 weeks. He didn't play finals. He hadn't played a game of footy a month before that. Like, it was a big ask to go big minutes like that.
73 minutes in your...
That's enormous.
Yeah,
he hasn't
huge.
played more than 20 minutes in 2.5 months.
That's been critical. Now, being positive, some positive stuff. I just their ability to hang in there. Like, honestly, when I was watching that first 15 minutes, I'm like, we are lucky to only be 6 behind, because we were just on the back foot constantly, and it was just like, Dylan Edwards taking a crazy hit, like a really good hit up, or throwing a ball over the top, and then Dearden would make a line break. Like, we were just hanging on by the skin out, like so close where you could feel us almost break, and then the pressure would get relieved. And that was just all from their ability to hang in there, because guys like Taumalolo and Adam Fanua-Blake, I will say, and we'll get to it, but I felt like Tonga's bench let them down a little bit initially. I thought they lost a lot of impact when Adam Fanua-Blake and Taumalolo went off. But just the ability to hang in there the way they did, I was just so amazed by it. Now, in regards to individual performances, we've already spoken about it a little bit, but like Tommy Turbo out on the edge there, so special. So special. Now, guys, if you're listening just to this, if you go back, we've spoken about Dearden in the Hungriest Player section. But yeah, I just thought Tom Trbojevic once again standing above the pack.
It was so, like, I haven't seen him play live in a long time, and just, like, he's just got spiders on him.
Yeah,
like,
it's
he's
crazy.
just too good.
Yeah.
I sat there with Kat just saying, like, geez, if you're a Manly fan, you'd have to be so excited. All these young guys coming through. Olaguatu's flying. Turbo's untouchable out there. I just hope he can put it all together.
Yeah. Another guy I think deserves a big rap, and just if you had said this bloke would have had this journey at the start of the year, you would have been laughed out of the room. Zach Lomax. So comes out, works his absolute arse off, 22 runs, 219 metres, 74 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, a line break, 1 offload, 9 tackles, 0 misses. Like, and I know he had that 1 drop ball from Tommy or whatever, but outside of that, like, to come out and essentially run for, is it the most metres of any outside back? Yeah.
Yep.
The most metres of any Australian outside back.
By a distance, too.
By a distance, and also more than any Tongan outside back as well. Like, again, this is a Zach Lomax at the start of the year where it was, this guy with all his potential and he hadn't reached it, to now doing this.
Yeah. Guru was talking before about you can really hear a lot of the contact out there. And Zach Lomax, for me, was one guy who was like leading that. Every time he kind of went into contact, there was 2 or 3 guys there. He'd really just like explode into it.
Yep.
He was just so strong running the ball today, and he has been all year as well.
Yeah.
If it's like, I would love to see his heat map of like distance covered on the field, because for a bloke who was stationed on the wing, the amount of times you saw his head pop up, and I really like your point around the transitions, Kempy. Because, and you mentioned the 2 main ones, and it was Zach Lomax and Tom Trbojevic, and every time there'd be, whether it was a kick return or a ball going dead in goal or a 20-metre tap, whatever it was those 2 there, but Zach Lomax was everywhere, and he wasn't just there and like meandering, waiting for the ball to come to him and take the hit up. Everything was at speed. Whoever was taking that first run of the set, he was there in support. He was such high energy the entire game.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, like, seriously, the bloke's a winger. If he does want to play centre next season, he's the perfect man for the roaming role. And he's just spent a Kangaroos camp with Tom Trebojevic, who's played that roaming centre role.
Yeah,
what a better way to learn to do it and to chat to Tommy, because in my opinion, Tommy basically created that roaming centre role in Origin a few years back. If Lomax wants to play centre, roam like Tommy, because he's clearly fit enough, he's got the engine, and the impact he had going across the field from the wing was excellent.
It's Lomax is an interesting one, because I know a lot of people, and like I think we all we love him on the wing, but if you could get that roaming centre right, it actually could be even better than him on the wing, which is crazy.
And I think that's what people are sleeping on a little bit. Like, if I was a coach, I would play him on the wing because of what we've seen over the last 12 months. But I also just think he's a different bloke now. I think the confidence he's found in the last 12 months, like people saying, oh, we watched him play centre and he wasn't that great and he won't be that great going back. Bullshit. He's going to be a good centre. I have no doubt whatsoever he's going to be a good centre.
Well, as you just said, I think we're talking about two different blokes.
It's a completely different fella. You can just see it in the way he approaches everything he does on the field. Like, even the kick chases, like that's an intent thing. He wasn't doing that 2 years ago.
No
Something
way.
has changed. He's realised how good he can be.
Nothing to do with centre or wing.
So it was bullshit. Doesn't matter what jerseys he's wearing. He's a different footballer.
It's a good point around the heat map. I'd love to know how many Ks he ran, because he was kick chasing everything. He was back there taking scoots. He was everywhere. And his ability to, what I liked about it, and you mentioned this as well, sometimes wingers that are known as meter eaters, they almost get used to the motions of it. Like they take their run, they get their 6 meters, they go back out, and it's almost just like clockwork. What I like about what you said as well is with Zach Lomax, every run was with intent. Like, it wasn't like he was just getting through work to get through work. He was trying to make a difference with every run. So, like, seriously, it might be the signing of the season, and it might be the bang for buck signing of the season next year. It truly could be both of them. Eels have got an absolute winner on their hands, and I'm stoked for Zach Lomax, because how many years do we get talked about this super athlete, this guy, the gifted one, you know, all this great stuff. He's finally fulfilling it. Another guy I want to speak about, when I think of the word class, I just think the Hammer. He is all class, and it's just as much as he needs in any given moment. His footwork, his ability to make people create space around him, even the offload for the try. Like, that's not easy. He got the ball getting jammed by Alamotti. So Alamotti makes the right call, or jams him. Still manages to flick the ball over the top of the winger and land in Coates' hand. Like, he is just all class, Hammer, all class.
The impact he has on a crowd too. Like, everyone just stands. Like, he just lights a stadium up.
Sorry, Hammy, you go.
No, I was just going to say, doesn't need much to work with either, does it?
Oh,
Second or third time this series where he's got this much to work with, and just, it's like he's hit a star on Mario Kart and he just goes, pew, just ends up in the corner and no one can touch him. It's a freak.
Poor old Paul Alamotti. I think Tom Dearden in particular identified that mismatch, and they got Hammer a lot of early ball and one-on-ones with Alamotti, and look, it didn't really matter who the centre would be. When you're one-on-one with Hammer with enough space, you're at 100 to 1 for him to create something. And there were a lot of opportunities there where they had a lot of success down that edge before Alamotti went off. And not saying it was all his fault, but Dearden went through there a few times. Hammer got his one-on-ones and would just get on the outside of him. As you said, that one where he actually did hit him, the contact from Alamotti was fine. It was just a freak play from him.
Yeah, freak play. And also with Hammer, he's getting to the point now in his rep career where he's making defenders make bad decisions because they're worried about giving him space. The try where Alamotti had Adam Fanua-Blake and Dearden made that line break, I think might even be the first try, that was all off Alamotti going, I don't want to give Hammer any space. So he gets in front of Adam Fanua-Blake. Adam Fanua-Blake obviously doesn't have the gas to keep up with Dearden. And that's where the Hammer's getting at. He is getting so scary in rep footy that the centres opposing him are going, oh shit, I've got to make sure I get... That extra metre I would give most centres, I can't give that to him.
Yeah, and in that situation, you can't hold anything against Alamotti.
Because if he stays back and gives Adam, he stays with AFB, Hammer will gas him.
Yeah.
So it's what do you do there?
He had to hold.
He did have to hold, but I know what Guru's saying. He's saying it's like the worst of two worlds, where if you give him space, you get gassed and everyone looks at you. But at the same time, don't try and solve it yourself. Let the system solve it.
AFB should, to your point, AFB shouldn't have been. He was like the 3 man for that. He never should have been there in the first place.
So, yeah, just the hammer, just once again, proven why he's great. Xavier Coates, he's another one that I think is just, he's almost gone a bit underrated this series. Just been so strong with his carries back. Like, they were trying to kick to him a lot. I don't know, what, like maybe to gas him, but his returns were... I mean, that's the thing when you play Australia and you've got Coates on one wing, Lomax on the other. Like, who do you kick to?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who do you kick to?
I probably would kick Coates, to be honest with you.
That
As crazy
finish,
as that sounds.
or nearly finished
Oh,
that he had.
man.
Yeah.
Like, again, sitting there, I was chatting again with my mate. He goes, the Storm having him and Warbrick on either wing, it's like almost like the field's like 5 metres wider than it actually is. Because the angles they can get on. It was almost, it looked like that, almost the Michael Jordan dunk image, like the angle that he got on.
Can you imagine like that tried 10 years ago? You wouldn't have even bothered to look at that.
Nah.
No,
you
whereas
just
yesterday, the whole stadium sat there watching that replay, just knowing what Coates is capable
Yeah.
of.
Crazy.
Just so good, so good. Another bloke for me, just Paddy Carrigan's toughness. Like he's just keeps, like he's not the biggest, he's not the most explosive, he's not like an Adam Fnor-Blake or a Taumalolo, but he just keeps turning up. He might get jammed one run, next run he takes it again. His ball playing, his defence, his motor. I just thought he was just tough.
Do we think Turbo locked in the golden boot?
I think
at
so.
that one? Yeah.
At the moment, if it was me, it'd be between him and AFB and Herbie. Yeah.
He, like, I think we were sort of saying pre-show he could have had 5 tries in this game. Feels like an age ago, but in the first game against Tonga, I thought it was the same. Like, he could have had 5. He just could have had 10 tries against Tonga in 2 games.
Yeah, well, Lehigh has, like, foiled him probably 4 or 5 times this series.
Almost certain tries and was saved by half an inch.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has to be Tommy, I think.
Well, yeah, he had that happen twice, didn't he? Maybe twice in the first half and then in the second half as well, maybe. So nearly 3 times it happened in just one game. Outside of that, we've already spoken about Lindsay Collins, but geez, he was tough. Once again, they went hunting him. I actually think the reason why he gets shotted is because he runs so upright.
Yep.
So he's just an easy target, but he's so tough. He doesn't know any other way to run it. But who stood out for you, boys?
that head clash he had with was it Angus Crichton?
Oh, boy.
Mate. He is genuinely so tough, Lindsay Collins. Gets bashed, gets the ball the next set, all good, I'm taking another one, gets bashed, goes again.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of mixed attention around Dylan Edwards following the game. Look, just again, take it with the world's largest grain of salt, but on social media.
It was very mixed, wasn't it?
Yeah, and like some people were bashing him, and like I've only watched the game once, sort of thing, and I thought he was great. Like he didn't come up with like big highlight reel moments or anything. Not that Dylan Edwards rarely ever does, but I thought that every time, particularly in that first half, that we were struggling to come out of our own end or whatever it might be, he would find a run, and it was often just darting from dummy half, and he'd get in behind the ruck and make 15, 20 metres and get a quick play of the ball. I thought that happened like 4 or 5 times where we were going nowhere and Edwards got the momentum back for us.
He had a couple of very key dummy half
Well,
runs,
his run was the initial run that released the first 15 minutes of pressure from Tonga. It was Edwards' scoot out of dummy half, and I think he had 2 runs in one set. Look, obviously he had that error, but I mean, outside of that, I thought he was great. I thought he was exactly what Australia needed, which was a super fit fullback that anytime we needed a tough carry to happen, he made it happen. Look, if you're expecting Dylan Edwards to go in and be Tom Travojevic, Kalen Ponga, Reece, he's not that guy. We have other guys in our team that can do that. We've got guys like Tommy Turbo, like our outside backs are freakish enough. Just get him the ball, they'll put points on. Edwards' job is to take tough carries and get through the work. And that's why initially when he made the 1 or 2 errors and he wasn't getting through the work, that's when you go, oh, that's a problem. But he was getting through the work, in my opinion.
The way the team was set up, because Tommy Turbo was roaming from centre, he would roam over the edge. He was playing as the fullback. And because that is not, said Dylan Edwards isn't out there to set up 3 tries and score 3 tries, particularly in this setup where your centres are hammering Tommy Turbo. Points are going to come.
Exactly. And also, Moses had a relatively quiet game. So Dearden was dominating that left edge, and we all know Edwards is a right edge player.
Yeah.
And Moses was relatively quiet. Like, I agree, mate. Like, yeah, he had that error, but I don't think he was poor by any stretch. And that's coming from a panel 2 weeks ago that was saying he needs to play a good game. So it's not like we're super pro, as in like we can't be honest when we see him play not as good as we think he can. I thought he was exactly what we needed. He made multiple massive tough carries for us to get out of trouble, in my opinion.
Big defensive plays as well.
100%. There was that grubber that hit the post, that Adam Fanua-Blake with the repeat set. Like, Edwards was good, in my opinion. Yeah. He was exactly what we needed for that type of game. Like, imagine in that game if we didn't have a super fit fullback that could take 25 carries. Like, who would have relieved the pressure for us? So, yeah, I thought he was decent. Who else stood out for you boys?
Mate, we're sort of going through all the ones that I had. Isaiah, once again, just consistent as all hell. I thought there was a couple of moments where they had a few offloads and whatnot, and he just really straightened them up.
Angus Crichton's offloads were crazy.
Yeah.
8 of them.
8 offloads.
Sorry, 6 offloads.
6 offloads, wow.
6 offloads. So strong. How are you doing that against a Tongan side?
And 8 tackle breaks.
Doesn't matter who's up against him. It's just that first contact, just bang, get off me.
So good. Speak about it a little bit. I mean, look, as I said, he was clearly targeted by the Tongan side. So I thought he was so brave in defence, but I did think Mitchell Moses was a little bit quiet this game. I don't think he was poor in any sense. And you can look at the stats and you can see the 10 missed tackles, but again, not all missed tackles are equal. He was being targeted by an absolutely huge body, and at no point did I watch Mitch and go, he's not putting his body in front there. He was putting his body in front every single time. And yes, was it the Mitchell Moses that we're used to that, completely tears teams apart? No. But at the same time, he had a dig the entire game. He just was a little bit quiet, in my opinion. Not a bad game. I just thought he was quiet.
Yeah, and, read into the 10 missed tackles what you will, but I reckon 7 or 8 of them are him bouncing off Olakau'atu.
Putting his body in front.
He's not hiding, as you said. Like, it was at no point. Mate, honestly, when I was watching it, because we were so close, I was just sitting there, fuck, maybe you should hide a little bit. This is... Because Tonga were doing such a good job isolating him. They got him one-on-one with Olakau'atu on a number of occasions. And, mate, I just think, and I think it's one thing that I'm learning on social media that people can't appreciate, mate, if your halves partner's got the hot hand, let him fucking play footy. Yeah. Let him go. And
the game plan was also, as we said, clearly to go and get Hammer one-on-one on the other edge at Alamoti. Was it Angus Crichton on Isaiah Katoa? Like, they were going down that edge. Mitchy Moses' edge didn't see a lot of the quality ball. And because they had success down that left edge early, it stayed that way.
Yeah, I mean, there were times when Dearden was literally getting it on fifth tackle and passing it in good ball.
But yes, 100% he was quiet.
Yeah, so, he's a little bit quiet, but I wouldn't consider it a poor game from Mitch at all. And as you said, Roo, like sometimes the best thing a half can do is go, oh, I'm not the hot hand. Yep. Sweet, I'll get through my work. I'll kick long and just let Dearden do his thing. Because, imagine this. Imagine Moses goes, I've got a huge ego. Give me the fucking ball. Starts overcalling it all the time. That's how you lose matches because Dearden doesn't get the ball to do what he needs to do.
And we're seeing that time and time again in the NRL, and I still think people are underappreciating it.
Yeah. Mitchell Moses could have been quite selfish. So, as I said, a quiet game, not a bad game in my opinion. And you could look at the stats and go, 10 missed tackles, but that's because he was putting his body in front of the line. He could have easily done things like shot out of the line so that he didn't have to worry about making the decision. He could have easily hands tackle so he just hangs on and gets ridden for 10 metres, but he doesn't miss the tackle, but he puts his body in front. Outside of that, anyone else, boys? Obviously, I thought Isaiah was incredible. Again,
I think that's just about
it.
Yeah, all good, mate.
All good?
Yep.
Okay, on to Tonga. I mean, what an incredible performance by the Tongan side. Like, I just thought Adam Fanua-Blake, Taumalolo, Katoa and Olakau'atu were absolutely destructive. Like, they were truly showed you how when they're at their best, they are almost, you can't contain them. Like, truly, some of the best defenders in the competition were having huge dramas containing them. I've already spoken about it. I did feel like the bench came on and didn't have the impact that they would have hoped, unfortunately. I thought it took Paseka and Wong to kind of build into the game. It took them a bit. I didn't think they were as good as they could have been. However, I did think Keon came on and was really good for Tonga. But I tell you what, when you look at Adam Fanua-Blake, but Taumalolo as well, the fact that Taumalolo's still got this in him, surely you're looking there as Cowboys fan going, whatever we need to do to get this out of him, let's get it out of him.
It's bizarre, wasn't it, Taumalolo? Like, we touched on it a couple of weeks ago after the first game, but he's just a different footballer. He had a decent season with the Cowboys, don't get me wrong, and he had good moments, but there was none of this.
I didn't watch a game, maybe one or two where I saw this version of Taumalolo. which I just hope that maybe this is something where maybe Peyton can look at it and go, okay, what do I need to do to just get this version of Taumalolo firing? Because he was unbelievable.
That changes everything for the Cowboys if they can get
Literally.
him to 80% of what he's done for Tonga.
Absolutely. Because I thought some of those carries he took, like he was taking one-off hit-ups into a compressed Australian defensive line with the best defenders in the country and just skittling them every time, finding his front, just creating momentum every single time.
Look, I don't want to say down and out, but really on the back foot, about 55, 60 minutes into the game, who comes back on and changes it?
Yeah.
Taumalolo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's literally Taumalolo. So I thought he was phenomenal. Adam Fanua-Blake, I thought there were times where he ball played a little bit too much, but outside of that, Adam Fanua-Blake's series has been, again, we spoke about it, but his ability just to take another step, another level, he just keeps getting better and better and better.
Just watching him out there yesterday at the ground, he is also doing a lot of work off the ball. Like he's like directing a lot of traffic and yelling at guys and doing a lot of that sort of stuff as well. So he really settled into his leadership role really well, I reckon, through this tournament. And over 220 metres again, second game in a row, 67 minutes on the field as well, in pretty hot, tough conditions. And, you know, over 80 post-contact metres in those, or 92, in fact it was yesterday. Crazy. Great series by him, and I mean, what a leader for those guys going forward the next few years.
67 minutes.
Like, as a big fella like that, and also I said he ball played maybe a little too much, but at the same time, the fact that, like, usually when you got a player like that, he can barely pass. Like when you're knocking up those stats, it's purely because that's your strength. He can ball play, like genuinely ball play as a front rower. Plus he's got a motor. Plus he's got footwork. Plus he's strong in contact. Mate, he is a serious problem, and I tell you what, Sharkies fans must be just going, "Oh my god!"
Well, if Tonga scores 7 more points in this game, he's probably a Golden Boot winner.
Yeah, I think you'd lock it in. Really, they win this game, I think you'd lock AFB in for sure, wouldn't you? He's that good.
Yeah,
he's gone top 5 in the post-contact meters 3 years in a row in the NRL. That's outrageous.
And again, like it's not like he's just an up and down footy player. He's actually a super smart footy player with great ball skills. Super impressive player. I guess we'll talk about Olakau'atu and Katoa, but they are just like, they're almost like the Tongan version of the Bash Brothers. Like they are freaking scary, big, mobile, fit edge back rowers.
And that's because they are big and mobile. You know, they've got every excuse to just be the big damaging guys that sit out there. Like watching Olakau'atu in particular, the amount of work he does, very similar to what you said, just off ball, and the amount of communication he does, and he just never stops.
Yeah, 24 tackles, 0 misses on the edge there, on top of his attack.
Those two blokes this year both realised how good they are.
Yeah.
And they realised that, no, like, we're not good NRL players, but like, no, we can be better than everyone in this world, every forward in this competition. Like, we've seen with Olakau'atu all year, but not just the effort areas around that, he said the no misses, but Ola knows first up, no one can tackle him and what he can do and the amount of ways that he can impact a game. We saw with Eli Katoa, who, you know, was in and out of first grade at the Warriors, and he's come into his own at the Storm. But when he picked up and went from dummy half to score a try through the Kangaroos with 5 minutes to go to get his nation back into a final, that was okay, I can do this single-handedly because I'm that good. And but not just that, like Eli Katoa, just the way he competed for every kick and he'd get up and he'd put pressure on. It was like, I'm not going to say it's not his job, but if he doesn't do it, there's not a word said.
Yeah.
He got up there, and I think they sort of spoke about it in commentary, but like that's Melbourne Storm 101. Yeah. And that is what Bellamy's instilled in him, what that club has, because he was at every contest that he could be at.
Yeah.
You know what I love too about Olakau'atu, the amount of work he does, like, he signed a 6-year extension in December. Like, he'd have every excuse to go, I'm sorted, I'm good. And like there probably would have been a fear at the Manly Seagulls, as there is whenever you sign someone to a long-term deal, that can happen. He's done the opposite. He's worked harder.
Mate, I'll be honest, and I'm such an Olakau'atu fan. I've been for so long, even when he was just coming on the scene. Even when I saw that 6-year deal, I was going, I don't know if that's good for even Olakau'atu.
Yep.
And then now I'm going, watching his attitude this year, like, think about this. He got dropped from the New South Wales side. How many people have been rattled beyond belief from that, and understandably so. It's such a cooker situation. It's like it's a boiling pot origin. And granted, like, people get dropped for different reasons, so I get it. Like, there's more talk about certain players when they get dropped than Olakau'atu. Olakau'atu didn't get dropped because of form. He just got dropped because of bench rotation. However, you still can be pissed off about it. I mean, look at how Ricky Stewart reacted to Hudson Young getting dropped. He was pissed about it. And yet he didn't react negatively at all. Like, literally not a single negative. Like, there wasn't a single game where you said he's kicking rocks. And this is the player he's turned into. And they've got a leader at the club now. They've got a genuine leader at the forwards in Manly. Because I'm trying to think over the last few years, like they lost Adam Fanua-Blake, Tapu'ua as well. They've got Jake Trbojevic, but since then, like, leadership maybe in the forward pack, they've been waiting for this next guy to become that, and he is that now.
Yeah.
When he scored yesterday as well and gave us the big Marco Bresciano statue kind of celebration.
Love that stuff.
Hairs on the back of the neck stuff. Unbelievable.
Big scary boy.
I didn't quite know how to word it when I left the stadium yesterday, and I thought Corey Parker just put it really well in a quote I saw from him. Just simply said, Tonga are not scared of Australia anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's just not a backward step.
No.
There isn't, even the way that, when they arrived at the stadium, you can just see they've just got a confidence in them that, okay, you might be worth $5 million more than this side. We don't care.
Yeah. Because we got something that you don't, and that's huge.
And they know it.
Big, powerful forwards. We said it a few weeks ago, and we essentially we're all on the same page, but the gap is closing. Yes, Australia is still the best side. Yeah, okay, we could look at some players, missing or whatever. But are you really telling me that if we brought in, let's say we were at full strength, the Australian side, would we have won by that much more? I don't think so. Maybe an extra try or so, maybe. Maybe we win by 12 points. That's still a close game against, again, guys, Tonga is a nation of 100,000 people in Tonga and maybe 150,000 people in Australia. This is a tiny, tiny nation that is going up against a nation of, 21 million people or whatever it is these days. It's an incredible feat.
Well, they're in a window where they're winning the next World Cup is extremely achievable. Mm-hmm. And this series has shown that, knocking off the Kiwis within 6 of us in the final. They're probably, in the next couple of years leading into that, they probably need a 6 to come on. Hopefully Latu Finu can be that man.
Mm.
They probably need to find a 9. That being said, if they've got like a Latu Finu who comes on, Isaiah Katoa, we'll get to him shortly, but another 2 years under his belt, he's going to be a superstar. Lehigh Hopewade, another 2 years for him. He could be a superstar. They're not going to need a crafty number 9.
Just getting the ball.
Like, they could find a Mitch Kenny type who just does a job and makes the tackles, makes the right decision, passes well. They're in a window to win the next World Cup.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, 100,000 in Tonga, 150,000 spread across everywhere else, but mostly New Zealand, USA, and Australia.
And they're taking it to Australia, where it's our, essentially our national sport to a degree, like obviously AFL. Okay, we'll just talk about him, Isaiah Katoa. What a game. Like, I know it wasn't perfect. I know you could look at, there was a 7 tackle set with a kick or whatever. But to go up against Australia like that first try that he scored was, that first try assist that he had was magic. Dummy drop under, keep the ball in 2 hands and just skin him for numbers. Like, we're talking about a 20-year-old in like the biggest game of his career. The first game against Australia, his kicking game is just completely off. He's completely off. And he comes out and he plays the way he did. As I said, it wasn't perfect. Absolutely, he's still rough around the edges. But if you had a 20-year-old 7 come into Australia, would we expect him to just be like perfect? No, we wouldn't. Matter of fact, Cleary came into the Australian World Cup side and he was a bit rusty and rough around the edges for Australia, and he was older than Katoa is. Mate, when you talk about not the last thing they needed, but like the last piece of the puzzle, it is Isaiah Katoa. It is Isaiah Katoa. Now, does that mean that he's going to be, that means that Tonga are definitely going to go and win a World Cup? No, it doesn't at all. But it is one of the pieces of the puzzle that they haven't had, which is a top-tier young number 7 that's an out-and-out 7 that is leading a current NRL side around the park each week in, week out. They've finally got it. And we've seen the dividends paid. We've seen it paid. Isaiah Katoa was great for me. Yes, rough, but great.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And there are things that you can pinpoint from that game if you want. But for me, mate, I was 20 metres away from that try assist that he had. Like, I think sometimes with international rugby league, when you're taking on the Kangaroos, I think sometimes we forget, like, This is a 20-year-old taking on the Kangaroos.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best team you can assemble. That like they shouldn't be conceding points.
Yeah.
He absolutely bamboozled them on that
Yeah.
play. And there's only a select few of guys that realistically have done and do that to the Kangaroos. And it's your Stacey Joneses, your Sean Johnsons, these sort of guys. For him to do it as a 20-year-old, like that was almost my moment of the whole series.
So good. It was such
the
beautiful.
corner
footy.
he did it in with like that, with it just erupted there, and it was for me that's like you obviously got the field goal last week or the week before.
Last week.
That's the moment I walk away from and go, fuck, that's the future right there.
To strip the Aussies like that is number 7 ball playing at its purest form. So good.
Well, he did the double unders.
Yep.
We already know that he's one of, if not the most direct running halves in the game anyway. So, like, often bringing players under is a way of, getting the defenders to, be caught out on their feet and sort of, keep them guessing. Did that, then he double pumped on Hammer to make Hammer come in. Like, that was the classiest bit of the whole play where he'd already done hope, and then just bang, bang to make Hammer come in as well. Like, this is an Aussie side who they conceded 10 points against the Kiwis before that. I know Qatar was there, but in the first game they didn't concede against Tonga.
Yep.
Even in this one, there was the kick for the try and then Eli Qatar barnstorming from dummy half. It is an unbelievable defensive unit. And purely on sleight of hand and vision, he was able to do that.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant play.
20 years old. 20 years old. It is just... I tell you what, the Dolphins are just sitting there just going, that's always the ingredient that a lot of the powerhouses need is that 7. And granted, he's got a very long way to go and he's young and all that kind of stuff, but he can't do much more. He really can't do much more as a young ball player at the moment. So
Even have a look at that play too. Like, it's Alamotti, it's Lehigh, it's Shani Qatar on the wing. They're not guys he plays with.
Yeah.
Like, he's literally a kid walking into this side. He's got 3 or 4 weeks to get used to this squad. He's got all the pressure in the world on his shoulders after the first game. He's got this whole country on his shoulders, realistically. Like, the forward pack can be as dominant, as good as they want. We've learned over the last 30 years, you need a 7.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It is the pressure on this. Think of the pressure on this kid. Look at how passionate the Tongan fans are. The downside to that is immense pressure, and he is the guy that's got to get it done. Anyway, I thought it was outstanding. You even go back to this year. He went down to Penrith with the Dolphins and tore the Penrith Panthers apart in the first 20 minutes. Granted, the Penrith Panthers came back and won the game, but this is what this kid can do.
And like we'd sat on this panel for weeks saying that Panthers right edge, that's the spot we'd target. The halfback that did it better than anyone else in the comp was him.
He was him, 100%. So outstanding performance. Another guy I just want to talk about quickly, Christian Wolf. Dolphins. I know, look, the Wayne Bennett curse, it lives on strong. But from everything you've seen with what he's managed to do with this Tongan side, it's pretty bloody good. It's a decent resume. I know that people have come in with decent resumes after Wayne before, but with information you've got, with how well he's done with this Tongan squad this year, it's good signs for Dolphins next year.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Like, I've been really nervous about how that's all going to play out. The closer we get, the more I think about it. Like, it really is a unique situation that Wolf has been there for 2 years preparing for this role. Like, no assistant coach has ever been like that before.
Maybe Demetrio at the Rabbitohs, I guess, because he was with Wayne at the Broncos, but Demetrio hadn't had success with an international side as a head coach, to my understanding, before that. He'd always been the assistant, whereas Christian Wolf, he was the head coach when they beat Australia, I think, in 2019.
Yeah, I just think Wayne Bennett literally setting the place up for him to take over. I'm hoping it'll be a little bit different.
I think also as well, and this is probably what you're alluding to, is that when the Dolphins hired Wayne Bennett, they knew he was going to be. So everything from the inception of the club has been around Christian Wolf taking over from Wayne. So that's another factor.
Well, there was even like when Wayne had his speech saying goodbye to the Dolphins, he even mentioned that, every other club I've been to, they've signed me to win a comp. You guys signed me, just set up a club.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great apprenticeship served, isn't it? Pardon me. He 2 titles with St Helens into 2 years underneath Wayne Bennett. He's now taken Tonga to a final of Pacific Championships and has had Tonga for a long time now.
And I think he was the one coaching them when they won in 2019.
He was. He's been coaching him since 2014.
Yeah, so it's like...
So he's a big reason this has all happened.
Great Great resume.
Yeah. I was with him. He was at the Broncos when I was there. Great man. Probably doesn't think the same about me, but anyway, Lehigh Hopewadi, we've already kind of spoken about him, but there was one moment where I just go, are you serious? 18 minutes in, Lomax goes for the high ball, and Lomax is going to outjump nearly anyone. And somehow, I don't know how, because he's not that tall, Lehigh Hopewadi outjumps Zach Lomax for a high ball. And you're just going, what? Like, this kid, he defies physics. He shouldn't be able to hold blokes up. He shouldn't be able to outjump people. He should get ragdolled every tackle because he's not that big. But he doesn't. He is unbelievable.
He is. And we touched on some of his defensive plays, but loves a miracle try saver, doesn't he?
Mate, he's try saver on Tom Trbojevic. Again, we're talking about Tom Trbojevic. Over 100 kilos, 6 foot 3 or 4. And you've got Lehigh Hopewadi, maybe 181 centimetres, maybe 85 kilos, 86 kilos. And he's somehow held him up. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Was Sully not picked?
No, he was late.
Cooler came in.
He's what?
Cooler came in.
Why was he out though?
I think just selected. I think that Christian Wolf, look, this is just my assumption, but my assumption is Christian Wolf's gone, look, we need speed on our edges. And because we're getting, the last time we played them, that's where they got gassed a lot with speed.
They went one of, if not the best defensive centre in the NRL this year. I'd probably have him number 2, Moses Sully, behind Stephen Crichton.
I agree with you for sure, but I do think Cooler's speed was required.
I've said it before, and I don't mean to pile on Alamotti. What he did this year was outstanding. His final series for Penrith was remarkable. But I would have had Cooler there ahead of both of them.
Yeah, okay.
I think he's phenomenal.
Yeah, because you obviously said that weeks ago.
Yeah, and then to put Hammer on Alamotti, who has had defensive issues, Sully, a terrific defensive centre. I just thought that was the play for sure.
Yeah, stiff. If it was just dropped or whatever tactics, I think that's pretty stiff.
I think it was.
His previous 2 games were really good. So.
Can you check, Matty? See, I don't think it was form. I think it was genuinely speed.
Yep.
Like, as in, I think the coach has just gone, we got gassed on our edges when we played them last time, and I need fast centres. Again, that's when I look at it and I go, why would you do that? It would be for speed. So I don't have any inside information. That's just my assumption.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll tell you what though, like off the back of it, however the hell it happened, and we've been saying it for a while. How on earth Kohler is left out of football teams? How he can't make his club team?
His tackle on Tom Trbojevic, the speed he generated in a small space to chop. Like Tom scores that every day of the week.
Yeah.
Cooler across the ground. Like they looked like they had 3 numbers more than the Tongan side. Cooler hit top speed in like 3 meters and chopped him before he landed on. Like he didn't even go over the try line. He chopped him before the try line. That's how fast Cooler is.
Very interesting. Like he wasn't getting picked for Manly at the back end of the year.
So yeah, it's a tough one. Mixture. So he did have an injury, and he was brought back on the bench.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it was purely based on form or it was because he was injured and people were playing well.
If there's any uncertainty around, like he signed with Manly till 2027, so they've obviously got him in long-term plans. It's not to say they don't acknowledge what he's got to offer. They obviously love him there, but if there's any doubt around his selection for round 1, I'm going all in on him. Seriously.
As in like...
to sign him.
Oh, as in, to get him out. Yeah, get him out of the club.
Out.
Oh, mate, I love him too. I think he's one of the most underrated defensive centres in the competition with his speed, and he's a real good low tackler.
I think he can be like the centre in the game within the next 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
Okay.
he's
already very well-rounded at where he is now. Like he's got the speed.
Yeah.
Could be the
Defensively,
quickest
he's
player.
fantastic.
He could be the quickest player in the NRL. He's defensively sound and he's young. He's got a decent passing game on him. We know he can play fullback as well if needed.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm missing.
I do. In Manly's defence, I'm pretty sure he got injured.
He did. But couldn't get back in.
Yeah, he couldn't get back in.
To the start
So,
team, yeah.
I'd assume maybe they head into this year like you've got that spot.
Yeah.
And we'll see. We'll see because Tommy Talau was outstanding. So,
Sully against New Zealand made 8 tackles, but missed 5 and had 3 ineffective. So he only had a 50% tackle efficiency.
so maybe he just had a bad night.
There's a sentence here, however, in a late blow, Moses Sully has dropped out of the side with Kohler drafted in to replace him in the sentence. That sounds like
Yeah.
Hopefully
Maybe he just had a bad night and Christian Wolf. I think it's a mixture of bad night, but also speed. I really think when you go back and you watch that first Tonga versus Australia game, it's just the speed we had in the centres was, and I think out of the three, Sully would probably be the slowest one, I'd assume anyway.
Yeah.
Because he's so friggin' big and strong. Anyone else, boys? Anyone else?
All good, mate.
I thought Keon was really good when he come on. His footwork was great. Alrighty. On to the next game. New Zealand versus PNG. We'll be relatively quick on this one, guys, because, it was an absolute shellacking. Look, I mean, the story from this for me was obviously McLean. I'll give it to you. I'll pass the floor to you, mate, with McLean.
Yeah, it's just exciting. And, in a night where Sean Johnson's career comes to an end and see a career like this start, just unreal. And look, as I said, like Casey was playing in a Jersey Flegg trial at the start of the year. He was genuinely trialling for the team. It wasn't.
What?
He didn't
Hang on
have
a
to
sec.
feature in it.
He was trialling for the Flegg side, so he wasn't even locked into it.
It was a January trial, yeah. So he wasn't he was that's what I was actually surprised when he was there because I was like, oh, I thought he'd be an automatic in this side. But 2023, he was playing Harold Matts.
Far out.
It's insane how young he is and what he's achieved, and it's crazy. Only 7 games of first grade, and this is why during the year, and it's crazy to look back at it in hindsight. But I was saying, fuck, I reckon he can keep Paul Alamotti out of this side. Ivan Cleary bring Paul Alamotti back in. Shocked me, he made the right call. But you can just see Casey's got so much ability,
mate. That little in and away that he did, where
insane.
It was just that was smooth. You don't see that's you can't teach that type of speed and balance. It's natural.
And to have that confidence to do it as well. Yeah, he's a freak. And, we've talked about it for years on this panel. Every time the Panthers lose someone, there's a new kid coming through. Taruva's gone. It's not going to concern them in the slightest.
Yeah. I think that, you know much more. The only thing he's going to have to do that Taruva does really well that I've yet to see is just getting through a ton of work week in, week out. When it comes to natural ability and, his ability to score and all that kind of stuff, he looks absolutely the goods.
Even there as a young fella and a smaller body for his age. Toto and Dylan Edwards there, who are going to run for 500 metres a game. You're at the club where he can get away with it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing as well. Taruva coming through was never that guy.
Oh, really?
He became that guy because no one wanted to kick the ball to Dylan Brian Thomas.
Yeah, okay, wow.
I think
they'll work him into it kind of thing.
I think so. And I think as well, mate, when you look at just the size of this kid, he doesn't even got his man body.
Yeah, he's 6'2".
It's insane.
He looks quite tall.
Over the next year or two, he's gonna be very interesting to watch.
The other one was obviously Kinney. Wow. Now, this is me. I'm going to sound like a hater. I'm not being a hater at all. The only worry I have with Kinney, and it's actually not a Kinney problem, I hope he has a coach that doesn't force him to take 1,000,000 runs a game. Sometimes I see players like this, and it's just they've just got to create everything themselves. And then they never have any plays where they can, create try assists with ball playing or whatever. And so I hope that Desi's got a good system for him where he can still do all these runs, but he still has plays created for him to have his own space, if you know what I'm saying. So, for example, yes, we know he's going to take 25 runs and he might run for 300 metres each week. However, instead of taking 25 runs, maybe it's 20 and 3 of them are set plays with good ball where he has space to be able to do something special. Sometimes I feel like coaches, and look, Desi's, he so much experience, but sometimes I feel like coaches take the easy route and go, oh, how good, 300 metres each game. I'm just going to let him keep doing that. When it's but then you're almost robbing him of the opportunity to use his ability, get someone else to create space for him rather than him having to do everything. Being super nitpicky, but that's what I hope as a coach for him.
Isn't it interesting? We spoke about it in the preseason that Des Hazard has this incredible record with fullbacks.
Yeah.
Barber, Turbo, and we're going, is it going to be Jaden Campbell or AJ Brimson that explodes? All of a sudden it's Keanu Kenny by a country mile.
He's electric.
I'm very confident Des handles him.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they don't just rely too heavily. Go out and make, take 30 runs and it's just.
Yeah, he's just the rapid, I say rapid development. We've only seen X amount of him, in the top grade for the Titans, but just the development of his ball playing, how quickly it's come along.
Yeah.
When we first sort of saw him, he did look like a very dominant ball running fullback, and did he have the class for the ball playing and chiming in, the sweeping into the back line? Again, at that age, you'd never say no, but I didn't really see it. He's obviously worked on it very hard since his debut, last year, and it's just come along so quickly.
That ball to McLean was
that
smooth.
was the same place in and away,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
That
Caught it
ball,
behind him like that with one hand
Yeah.
and then just whipped it.
Yeah, like you add that to his running game,
Oh.
and he's 20 years old. Like that will continue to develop.
Yep.
Oh, he's a talent.
You know what it's like? It's like what I keep talking about with like hookers, where protect them from themselves. You don't want him at 20 years old playing every game, having to take 30 hit-ups a game for the next 10 years. Like, your body's just going to fall apart like that. And then maybe it won't because he looks quite robust for a little fella. But, yeah, let other people, because, like, he has the skill set to tear teams apart. Let other people do the tough stuff. And, like, he can do it every now and then. But, yeah, in regards to his ball running, like, his ability to, like, he bends his body and takes contact so well, like, and slips through tackles and turns his body and spins, and just his athletic ability and balance is some of the best balance I've literally ever seen. It's incredible. What do you reckon of the great Kenny at the back there?
Unreal, unbelievable. What a series as well. I mean, he's a guy. Potentially, if they had gone a bit deeper or got to the final, maybe he might have been a golden boot kind of guy as well. Obviously, he got nominated, but he's had such a great year, and just so exciting that he's so young and been able to produce the performances he had. Like, as a Titans fan, you've got to be pretty stoked to have him in your side now.
Yeah.
Far out. Obviously, SJ's last ever game, incredible. What a career. Outside of that, I thought Chance showed a bit of ball playing, which was good. That cutout ball was outstanding.
Well, the options there that I still think Chance, number one, is the best option for the Warriors moving forward. They've got halves that don't need a 5'8", but in a small sample size at 5'8", he's gone really well there. Like, I thought at the time he spent there, I believe he played 5'8" from memory at Magic Round when they beat Penrith on Sunday afternoon, and he was terrific. Really good for the Kiwis at 5'8" as well. It's just another option for them. Like, he slotted into it beautifully.
Yeah.
Just before we move on to, obviously that was Sean Johnson's last ever game, and it would have been nice to see him, being a 20-all game that was tight. I'm stoked it was this, just to watch it for one last time.
5 try assists.
That ball that he threw to Casey McLean, where he held him up and he just floated it, and then the one to, was it Naf White?
Yeah, Naf White.
Oh, that was beautiful. Just held it, boom, straight through. I thought Aaron Clark was good off the bench. I thought he was quite good. White, I thought White had a pretty good series, to be honest.
He needs very interesting watch going into next year for the Roosters,
especially with May going.
JWH gone. Someone needs to step up for them. You add in the injuries as well. Cheese injured for a long part of the season. They need him to have a big year, and the signs are good because he was very good for them this year. He was good for the Kiwis. Yeah, big 2025 coming up.
Yep. Alrighty, we'll move on now.
Just lastly,
sorry? I was going to give a shout out as well. Just very quickly, Sylvester Namo off the bench scored a try in every game of the series. Unbelievable. Get around him.
From PNG?
From PNG.
Oh, there you go.
Fisher Harris in the hooker.
Oh, mate.
Rolling the eyes back into the head, Undertaker style. Like, utterly terrifying.
So good. Absolute beast of a human being. Beast of a human being. I can't wait to see him at the Warriors. Holy. Him with that Warriors jersey on. We spoke about last week about how, Gutho looked weird in the Dragons colours. I don't know. Him in a Warriors jersey looks... I reckon he's going to suit it.
I reckon he's going to suit it well in Vegas too.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Just on Namo backing up Hammy's point, he scored a try in every game. He scored 1 try this entire season in Super League.
Oh, that's the best.
Try scoring machine.
That's so good. Alrighty, guys, don't forget, partner of the show, Aussie Footy Shorts. That's right. We've got the maroon, we've got the country bloke ones, we've got the blue ones. Make sure to head to Aussie Footy Shorts website. Give him a follow on Instagram as too. He's an Aussie battler that started his own business. The best footy shorts in the country. Footy shorts with pockets. Go to their Instagram. They got thousands of different designs as well. Plus also, if you and your mates want to get custom ones made, they do custom designs as well. Give Aussie Footy Shorts a follow. Alrighty. Also, before we get into it, don't forget, guys, if you buy a DMP shirt, you go in the draw to join me, Tom and Eddie for round 1 next year for a footy companion. All expenses paid. You and a few mates can come along, beers, pizzas, whatever you want. Spend the night with me, Tom and Eddie, and have a big one. Buy a DMP shirt. Once they're all gone, no one else can enter. It is only people that have purchased a DMP shirt. Alrighty. Terrell May. The Bulldogs and Dragons have reportedly both met with Terrell May's management. It's understood they also meet with the Tigers this week. Boys, where do you reckon he will end up?
I have no idea at the moment.
Yeah, I am lost. I don't know.
I'm completely lost. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Bulldogs, Dragons, Tigers, he'd be a cracking signing for all of them. Maybe the tie. I mean, I think your middle at the moment is. I have some serious concerns. I love the rest
that's
of
the
your
area
team,
we need to
but-
spend money. You know, we've mentioned it a few times on here. I think backline pretty good, spine pretty good at the moment, but we're still a little bit light on, and obviously lost Stefano to the Storm as well. So he'd be a great get.
How much would you be willing to pay for him?
For him?
Yeah.
$750, I reckon.
Yeah.
We've got a bit of money to spend. We need to pay a little bit more usually to get players across. I think he's worth about that anyway. He was the Roosters' best prop this year, in my opinion.
Would you go as high as $850 to get him if there was market pressure?
Yeah, it depends. I actually think we need two forwards if we could.
Yep.
And I think we need someone explosive like him. I think we need a safe pair of hands, a blue chip option like a Corey Jensen, as we've kind of spoken about as well. I don't know if we're going to be able to realistically get both of those players, but yeah, I think if there's a way we could get a couple, definitely, you know, if we could get both of them, I'd be more than happy to spend up to that much, you know.
No idea where he's going to land. I think, as you said, whoever does sign him is going to be a great get. He suits the Bulldogs' mobile front row, like mobile middle sort of style of footy. So I think he'd be great there. I mean, what do you say? Like off the back of what we saw this year, he's going to have success wherever he goes. So.
Yeah. I mean, he is just such a unique kind of front rower too. They're so hard to come by, high quality front rowers, and for what you're going to get him with too, like you're not going to have to pay $1 million for him. You're probably going to land around the 600 to 800k max. I'd say 800k is probably where Tigers would have to land is around 800.
On short notice sort of thing where it's, because he was still contracted at the Roosters, right?
He just re-signed.
He just re-signed, yeah. So for it to happen so late, end of the year, teams aren't going to have bucket loads of money to splash. So you probably do get him on a half right deal, at least for next year.
Even if you are the Tigers, and like you've won 3 wooden spoons, if you have to sign him for 800, I'll wear that.
Oh, mate.
You've got no middle forwards.
Mate, if I'm a Tigers fan, you got to spend the money somewhere.
Somewhere, yep.
And so, even if you went as high as 800 for him, it's like, well, what else are you going to do?
Yeah,
You're just going to keep waiting for a forward to come around?
And then, you can not do that and buy 2 guys for 400. They're not going to move the needle for you.
No
the reality of it.
Yeah.
You need a premier front rower at the club.
He's a needle mover. No denying that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm with you.
Yeah, so look, the good thing for Terrell is that he is, take your pick, really. He's not going to be short on options. Okay, now on to Gutho. Gutho is officially signed with the Dragons for 3 years. It seems he'll play fullback with all the new signings. What will the team look like next season? Cook has also said he's in Lockie Ilias' ear about coming to the club. Mate, in regards to the Haas situation, I reckon they should chase Atkinson super hard. I reckon Atkinson's a perfect man. But back to Gutho. I love this signing for the Dragons. I think it's a bloody good signing. I think that the narrative and yarn around, Gutho's a bit banged up. Look, I'm more than happy to put my hand up if, in a year or two's time he is banged up. I think that narrative at the moment is actually not correct. I think that it's been something that's just kind of caught a bit of momentum because he has been injured playing. He's actually not supposed to be playing. He's been injured.
Yeah, there's a difference between banged up and playing injured.
Yeah, and so, of course, he looks like he's limping. He has a torn quad and he's 3 broken ribs.
Yeah.
So I think that yarn is actually a bit misleading. For them to get him around the 800k mark, I reckon that's great for everyone. I really do. The leadership he's going to bring. He captained aside the Para Eels from wooden spoon all the way into a grand final. And we have to remember, before that grand final, they were in the top 4 or 5 every single year, essentially. He's the big reason he captained the club to do it. That matters. That's a big feat. There's not many people that can say they've done that. I love it. I love the signing.
I think him and Flano are going to go together like white and rice. I think they're going to be perfect. I reckon the Dragons are building a really nice squad for next year. I know they're losing Benny Hunt and Zach Lomax and whatnot, but I think Damien Cook, if they play him in that 13 role, if they get Gutho in at fullback, Chuck Sloan on a wing, that's if they don't get Josh Adokara. I think this will be Dad's Army that'll do really well. I reckon week to week they'll look bang average. You'll get to the end of the season and you go, fuck, they're in 9th again.
Yeah, and I look at it and I go, okay, does Cookie look banged up? No, he's still... You look at his last season's stats, still good. Gutho, again, I think in the last 4 or 5 years, he's in the top 4 or 5 for try assists for any fullbacks. You look at Holmes, he's 29 still, 30. So we're not talking about 33-year-olds that are looking banged up. We're talking about guys that have come off pretty good years. Like, I thought Cookie's last year was decent. I didn't think it was bad. I thought Gutho was solid as well for the Eels. So, yeah, you're not talking about guys that couldn't find a club anywhere else and were just on their last legs. I think they're still all playing decent footy.
Damien Cook, Clint Gutherson, Val Holmes coming to your club. What tremendous signings.
Yeah.
And it's credit to Shane Flanagan, who's done what coaches haven't been to do there for a fair while, and that's attract star talent.
Yeah.
And I think Gutho, he's such a great get for them. He said, you mentioned experience, which they were losing in Ben Hunt, but with those blokes coming in, they've all of a sudden got a plethora of it. And Gutho, I don't know what Terrell Sloan wants to do or if he's happy playing second fiddle or whatever it is, but if he is happy to be a little bit patient and learn underneath Gutho for 12 months, he'll get his opportunities, he'll get his games.
Yep.
I think it's perfect for his development as well. It adds class and security at the back. They're great. Like the chart of Damien Cook spending time at 13 while Little's at 9, I think that could be a revelation. So excited for them all of a sudden.
Oh, I think they've done really well.
Yeah, I think as well, like as I said, Ben Hunt, Lomax going sucks, but I think with those two, like it almost made them very one-dimensional last year. It just like you could tell it was survive until fourth tackle, kick out to Zach Lomax.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at their side, I go, fuck, they've got heaps of different options they can attack from.
Well, you look at their backline now. You go Holmes, Sully, Gutherson, Tuipulotu, and then maybe Sloan.
Yep.
It's not a bad backline. It's not a bad backline at all. Then you go and let's say they could somehow force Sharks to release Atkinson early. Flanagan Atkinson, like as long as Flanagan can just get him around the park, Atkinson, we don't know what he can be. He might be a bloody great six at that club.
I just love they've got two of the hardest running centres in the game. Val Holmes is the hardest running centre in the game. That unders line he runs. Moses Sully is devastating with ball in hand, and same thing. They both attract a lot of defenders. Gutho is not the fastest or the strongest fullback in the comp, but he's one of the classiest ball players. So those two running that line and Gutho sweeping off the back of those guys, it's just, they're coming together so nicely.
Yeah. Well, when you compare it to some other clubs that have really struggled to recruit big off the bottom of the table, and granted, I know they nearly made the 8, but yeah.
But even like depth as well. Now you go, last year it was like, all right, if Sloan got injured, who was questionable whether he should have been there anyway, they were light on at fullback. They've now got Val and Gutho, and now Sloan becomes depth. At number 9, if Little was injured, you're like, oh, they're a bit light on at number 9. They've now got Cookie as well.
Yep.
They're just halves is probably where they're still a little bit light on, but we'll see.
Isn't it crazy? Like 3 years ago, you only would have signed at the Dragons to play with Ben Hunt. That was it.
Yeah.
Ben Hunt's done nothing but say, I don't want to be there. Now he's not there. And now they've just got signings coming from all over the place.
Yeah.
Because who they have halves? It'll be Flano and...
well, at the moment, it'd be Flano and... don't know, really.
They need to find someone.
Someone, desperately.
Need a Flano.
Surely they've got something up their sleeve. Because, like...
Well, they've got the young fella that debuted at the back end of the season.
Not Marshke.
He's gone, Marshke.
He's gone.
King Tonga, I think. King Tonga, who did really well. He's very young, though.
Yeah. So that's the big question is the halves. You know, that's where you go, maybe Gutho will eventually find his way at 6 and you'll put Sloan at back.
There's a bit of chat going around about Brodie Croft. Did you hear a bit of that?
A lot of chat going around. Yeah, apparently he's pretty much getting released from Leeds or something like that, and he had a clause in his contract that he could come back to the NRL.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. Like, you know, maybe he's developed quite a bit over in the Super League.
Yeah.
Lockie Lamb's the other one I wouldn't mind too.
Yeah.
I don't know what his contract situation is. I was thinking the Sharkies, Atkinson, and even Dykes. I'd be happy to have either of them at 6.
Yeah. Alrighty, now on to Bateman. The Tigers reportedly asked Bateman to come back on December 21. Instead, he obtained a letter and from Warrington and from the RLPA on his behalf, both advising he should be giving extra break and return in 25. The reports are he is unlikely to pay for the club again. What this one I'm a bit like, as in like a letter saying he should get extra time. Is that the letter saying that he should get the minimum 10 weeks that every club has to give or something? You know, like that's a unique situation. I don't know.
Is it 10 weeks now?
I think it's 9 or 10 weeks.
Because it was 8, I don't know, a few years ago. I haven't kept up with it, if it's extended or whatever. But
I think it's 9 or 10 weeks. They have to have off as an RLPA thing.
I think he was keen to stay over there at least for Christmas with his family and stuff like that. So that's the sticking point here. They wanted to come back 4 days before that.
Because he was due back.
Yeah.
Like 2 days before they broke or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. So they want to bring him back and then they break again straight after. So
they're being like...
They're both... it's getting
He's
a bit
on the other
nuts.
side of the world with his family, with his daughter and that. Just give him Christmas.
Yeah, so it's getting
Week
like
later.
tit for tatty. Like he's, they're... Yeah, okay, that makes sense. What is just a disaster situation, man. Far out.
Yeah.
Look, I just hope that some club will pick him up and they can just end this relationship because clearly it's not working.
Yeah, hopefully it happens sooner than later as well. Are Manly still in the picture or not so much?
Well, they're probably going to play hardball.
Yep.
Because Tigers have made it so obvious that they'll get rid of him. I just don't understand that. Like, just pretend.
I was reading, there was some chat that they were willing to go down there. Remember when they had Robbie Farah there a few years ago? And they go, well, if you stay, you just play reserve grade all year. So that's been kind of thrown out at the moment.
Yeah, that always gets thrown out when they want to move players on. Yeah. But I just think with the Tigers, again, like I just feel like keep everything as in-house as possible.
Yeah.
So that Manly, because I really feel like if Manly felt like Tigers would Tigers wouldn't chip in that much, I reckon Manly would probably be willing to. But Manly know for sure that relationship is like completely busted. So why would you ever not make Tigers pay some of the contract?
Yeah.
From a negotiation point of view. Especially as well as the fact that they're not desperate for John Bateman, the Manly Seagulls. I guess it is what it is. Like just one of those situations hasn't worked out. He was signed by Sheens.
Yep.
And so I guess just not working.
Mentioned you guys off mic before, but if you go and have a look at the West Tigers player profiles on their website, he's been taken off it.
So it's getting.
They've got Royce Hunt, they've got Taruva, they've got all the new boys there. 28 spots. Bateman's not one of them on there.
Ooh,
I think I've just put all the people up who are going to be there on 21st of December. It's like a roll call situation.
So it's getting very spiteful. It's getting spiteful. And I think even Bateman put out a quote saying, "I will be playing at the club next year," and all that kind of stuff. So
can't you just picture the board meeting and they've got the website man or woman in there and they're just going, just don't put him on there. He'll see it and he won't want to come back.
Yeah.
I actually can't picture the board meeting at the moment because
that's our next topic.
Can't even get into the club.
Great segue.
Great segue. A dramatic boardroom brawl has developed. Well, not necessarily brawl, but disagreement. At the owners of the West Tigers after 3 board members were sensationally banned from entering any venue under the control of the Holman Barnes Group. Staff were issued with a club-wide email which states the trio were excluded from entering the club and all club premises. The email doesn't explain why the trio have been banned. The email sent by Holman Barnes Group Executive Manager of HR and Culture names the trio and states that they are excluded from entering the club's bars, restaurants, gyms, archives.
Not the archives.
Not the old Benji 05 footage. No. And car park across all 3 Holman Barnes Group venues. Should any of these gentlemen attempt to access the club or any of its facilities, please notify the venue manager, who should kindly ask them to leave. The venue manager should then report the incident directly to our CEO.
Wow. Good
Rugby
stuff.
league is the greatest game of all. It is the greatest game of all. What's doing?
And said, hey, you don't want to muck around, otherwise you might politely be asked to leave. Makes sense of these reports.
Make sure it's politely, though.
Yeah. What a mess, though. Like, I assume they have these board meetings inside one of these facilities, so it doesn't say they full-blown can't have a board meeting now, but, I don't know. It just makes it sound very strange. I don't know what they're hoping to achieve here. I don't know what they've done. That's the big question I got here.
Yeah,
what the hell did they do?
Yeah, to get banned.
Yeah.
Had a few too many beers? I don't know.
Yeah.
Far out. Oh,
good.
man. Rugby league, eh? Rugby league.
It's like a sitcom.
Yeah. Maybe you were saying before about maybe Terrell May, how much would you be willing to pay? 800. I'd probably be willing to go 900 to play and be on the board as well because we're a few short there at the moment.
Oh, that's great. Alrighty. Benny Hunt, where do you reckon he ends up, boys?
Chooks.
Chookies?
I just feel like the timing with the Terrell May stuff, trying to free up a little bit of cash. With no real further reasoning kind of given for why he's been let go. I think they get what they want usually. I reckon they're making a big play for him. The fact that the Broncos didn't let Kobe Hetherington go as well, which apparently they were going to need to do something like that to free up some cash, which I'm spewing about as a Tigers fan because I think we were maybe going to get him.
He would have been a great forward.
He would have been really good for us. But I think that maybe tells me that the Broncos it's not going to happen, that he's going to go there. I reckon he's going to the Chooks.
I like the fact that the Broncos didn't release Kobe Hetherington to leave because, like, first, you said he could leave, then you say you want him, and then there's yarns he's going to. Now, don't get me wrong, maybe he's got a great offer from the Tigers, and that's why maybe Hetherington wants to. I don't know. But I just didn't know how it would be for our culture to tell a bloke, you can leave. Oh, no, you can't leave. Oh, by the way, you can leave. So I'm actually glad that that's all. I like Kobe Hetherington as a player. I think he's a bloody good forward. Yep. Boys, me personally, I think Roosters. The only reason, like Dolphins, they're probably offering him a mozza, but so are the Roosters probably. And I just think when he's sitting across from Boris and Politis and all that, very hard to say no.
I hope he goes to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see happen. I don't know. I'm going to cop shit in the comments again, but like people saying go to Roosters to win a comp. They're not winning a comp next year with him. I don't think they're in the right spot to win a competition next year. And I'm not saying the Dolphins are, but I guess it depends what the price point is from both clubs. But
there's also a bit of a legacy from the Dolphins as well that you could leave.
Bloody oath there is, yeah, for sure. I'm hoping he ends up at the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think Dolphins. It's just based on no logic. The Roosters, it just doesn't feel right. You talk about Fisher Harris in a Warriors jersey now. Yeah, I can get around that. Feel it. Ben Hunt in Roosters jersey feels so wrong.
Yeah, that is weird. That is super weird. Ben Hunt in a
Dolphins jersey, yeah, I can get around that. Obviously, the Queenslander aspect to it. But look, the Dolphins are a club on the up. Benny's got, probably a couple more years in him. He's still played some good footy. I'm not saying they're going to win a comp next year, but 2 years' time, maybe. It's maybe probably 2 to 3 years' time. It's still possible. I think even at the Roosters, this isn't how they would think about it. This isn't how Ben Hunt would think about it. But and see him going there, making it his team, running the show. Sam Walker comes back from injury mid-season. Then they have to try and get them two to combine. I don't see that really working. Maybe it's more because I want it more than anything, but I think the Dolphins.
That's a big concern of mine too. The Roosters have spent 3 years trying to work out Sam Walker and Luke Keary. They finally solved the problem. It's Walker's team. Then they're going to bring Ben Hunt in, another dominant ball player. I can't see it working.
I just, with the Roosters, like, I agree with all your points, but like the Roosters don't go, like they've gone into this year with like almost as if with no plan. It looks like outside in, like whenever they let players go, and there's movement happening at the Roosters, they're like 5 steps ahead. And so I just can't imagine a year. Like, I would be shocked if we are heading into round 1 and the current Roosters squad that we think is going to play right now is playing.
Yeah, well, to state the obvious, it was obviously they're losing their 7, losing their 9 at the same time that Luke Keary retires. It's just thrown all planning out of the whack.
Yeah. I think in the short term, they need to fill the number 7 spot, which you can do. And then, there's a bit of chat around, will Cheese stay, will Cheese not stay? So even if when Walker comes back, Hunt could move to 9 then. Yeah. And then, he's solving a few problems for him.
Yeah, it's but even still, with Sam Walker and Cheese, let's say they were injury-free heading into this year, I still feel like the Roosters usually around this time make a big play. Like something, we're heading into 2025. The last big recruitment they did was 2020, I think, which was Cheese. No, sorry, 21?
Cheese was 22, I think. Didn't he win 21? He got
22. It was 22. He played 2 years with
him.
Yeah. So we're going into a third or fourth year. I don't know, usually, and we're hearing Cheese might not be re-signed. I don't know. I think there's going to be some big splash. I know you've already alluded to.
I reckon there's a chance that they might, like, if they don't make big signings this year, the year after, it's going to be biblical.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Something's
coming.
Surely something's coming. I don't know what it is. Surely something's coming.
For what it's worth, like with Terrell May gone, some money freed up there, and that was just very weird circumstances. Lost their 7, lost their 9. Probably a preference to play Connor Watson at 13 if they can. He makes sense.
Interesting. Very interesting. Alrighty, now it's time. What's the question this week, Matty?
The question this week, I'll get that in 1 sec. There's one thing I forgot to put in. Taukiaho to Manly.
Yeah, love it. Love it. I think it's exactly what they needed, to be honest. Like, they needed a mobile, big front rower that, I think we've spoken about quite a bit, but sometimes they've got too many big boppers in the middle on the field at the same time, Manly. And I think Taukiaho is almost, as long as he's injury-free, gets through the year and that, I think he's that mobile offloading forward that they could use.
Yeah, I haven't seen him play in a couple of years, if I'm completely honest, but I could not believe he left the NRL when he did.
Yeah.
And he might not be a 60-minute guy anymore, but if you can get 30, 40 minutes out of him, gun.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at Paseka, outstanding. You got Nathan Brown, you got Sipley, you got Bullymore, you got LIA, but you throw in a Taukiaho for 20 minutes after that sting's being taken out of the game. I don't mind.
I think the other thing with Manly too, like as you said, you got those 4 or 5 guys that are good. When one of them gets injured, it leaves a hole. He feels that.
Yeah, for sure. And I just like his mobility. You know, look how much impact Nathan Brown had this year because of his mobility, because he was good across the ground. Taukiaho is a bit bigger than Brown, but he's still quite mobile for a front rower.
Yeah, like as you said, we haven't seen a lot of him in recent years since he left. If he can produce 80% of what he did before he left, and as you said, Roo, it doesn't have to be in huge minutes because it would have been on a lot of money. It could be a terrific signing. We'll see.
All right. Maddie, what's the question for this week?
Question is, and this is obviously extremely subjective, but as all these are, out of all this 17 NRL clubs, what would you consider to be the people's team?
Oh, the people's team. I'll tell you who was a few years ago. The Raiders. When the Raiders made that grand final, they were the people's team. It was up the milk. It was up this. Now, when they got to be successful, obviously, as usual, as us Aussies, we chop you down. We love that stuff. But I'll never forget how much it was about everyone wanted the Raiders to win. Now, maybe that was because the Roosters were, the Roosters are, the Eastern Sub Glamour Club or whatever. But I really recall everyone jumping on the Raiders that year.
I reckon 12 months ago it was the Wars. Up the Wars. True. Everyone got on board the Warriors. Obviously, they didn't have any footy over in New Zealand for a couple of years. The stadiums were full. They sold it out. I think everybody, if their team was out of the comp for the finals last year, jumped on board the Wars. I reckon probably this time last year, definitely it was them. Right now, it's a little bit trickier. But
Bulldogs probably now, maybe?
Dogs for sure.
Yeah, the Doggies are the people's team at the moment.
Yep.
Because the Dogs were also, you got to take note of, all right, there are probably still a lot out there that dislike the Dogs and don't, but because they've had so much success over their rich history, all sorts of things have gone on at that club for many, many years. People haven't liked them. The support for them this year was enormous.
And they were playing above their weight, and they were, they were this mobile pack. We all love battlers. They recruited like utilities or whatever, and they all turned out to be like Curran's their front rower. Like, you love a battler.
I feel like over a long period of time, I reckon the People's team is an argument for the Knights. Sort of bet like a lot of homegrown talent, sort of Steel City, like.
And I don't meet many people that hate the Knights.
That's my big point. Not many people hate Newcastle. I think when they are going good, people tend to enjoy them. Like I think people appreciate the town. Like it's
I feel like Raiders and Knights are similar in that mold. Where it's like,
that's fair.
You don't really find people that don't like either of those teams.
Yeah.
I tell you what, obviously having played for the Broncos, but also not growing up watching rugby league, I didn't realise how much hatred there was for the Broncos until we made the grand final, and I was like genuinely shocked at how many people hate the Broncos.
Hate them.
Like genuine hatred. But because I didn't grow up watching rugby league, like I'm like, the way I used to see it was we're a super entertaining side. We throw the ball from we score tries. Like you're a good brand of rugby league. But no, genuinely hatred for the Broncos.
I tell you what I think was one of the ultimate people's teams at one point in time was the Cowboys.
Yeah,
Little
for sure.
brother.
Yeah.
Like in the early 2000s when it was Mango and Ty Williams, JT, everyone loved that side.
Yeah. I'm surprised that the Titans don't get the people's team that much because they got they've always had a roster with either characters in it or really loved players. And also because they haven't had that much success, there's not much hate against them, but they don't seem to pick up that groundswell of people.
I reckon they had. There's one year in one of their first couple of years, maybe 09,
2010, they made the prelim.
They made the prelim, Scotty Prince, LaFranchi.
It's almost like it all comes down to essentially success. Brand of football ties into it as well, so you're right where it makes sense, but I feel like a people's team, more than anything, to not be hated, teams that have had success aren't hated because they're like, we have no reason to. But also, to become the people's team, like the Raiders, you had to have had some decent years and played enough final football where the supporters could get around you and, maybe ride them as the dark horse in the finals. The Raiders haven't won a comp since '94.
Yeah.
So it's like it all ties into that. But the Titans probably haven't quite had enough success
success.
to generate the hype.
Because the Raiders have produced legends of the game that we
Yeah.
all love. So we've got that connection to like Mal and all that, where we go, that man, that
They've had
era.
finals runs
Yeah.
without going all the way. The
Yeah.
second we win a comp, people be like, oh, screw the Raiders.
Yeah.
Tigers 05 with the people's team. Came from nowhere. Won 13 games in a row.
Yep.
No
And brand of footy as
Brand
well.
of footy was
Great,
crazy.
great brand of footy. Other teams.
I reckon
started-
Newcastle's your best answer, all in all.
I
Yeah,
agree, Guru. I reckon it's definitely Newcastle. You look, hear stories about '97. People like standing on the roundabouts. It's like I feel like the town pretty much owns that team. Plus, no one really hates them. Let's look at last year. I know the Warriors were last year, but Knights were close second with.
I think it helps
Ponga.
as well, like that grand final against Manly, they won like one of the most famous moments. Like they were heavy underdogs. They came from behind. Like I think the underdog factor of Newcastle
Yeah.
buys into it.
Knights and Raiders are probably the two best answers, I reckon, at the moment. I haven't met people that say, and again, that, the Mal Meninga and the sticking that, like, but yeah, Knights probably the best
I think
answer.
before South won their comp in 14.
I was about to
their
say
argument
before
South,
that, and
the ones
certainly
who were
before Russell Crowe took over, the Souths were that community team, and they still are to a degree. But Russell Crowe took over, and all that stuff happened. Then when they won the comp, everyone started hating them again.
Is the answer the Bears, maybe?
No, they got to be in the comp.
Yeah, got to be in
Gotta
the
be
comp. I reckon you've nailed it with the Knights. Let us know in the comments section, what is the people's team in the NRL? What is the people's team? And also, what do you reckon the most disliked team is? I think we'll get a lot of obviously Brisbane Bronco answers, which is fine. But what's funny is, like, remember, like, the whole yarn, everyone hates Manly, but I don't think it's like that anymore.
I think those Trebojevic boys have
Changed that.
Changed it.
Yeah.
I think Roosters are the most hated because at least people.
Rabbitohs fan.
But at least people in Brisbane like Roosters. I mean, like Broncos. Nobody likes Roosters.
I think like 15 years ago, the answer was easy. It was Manly and Melbourne. But the personalities at those clubs now, like, people used to fucking hate Melbourne.
Yeah.
How do you not like Pappy, Munster,
Yeah.
Hughesy?
I reckon Brisbane v Roosters will be the runaway top two.
Okay. Let us know in the comments section. That's us. Done and dusted. Just trying to think. Anything else? No, I don't think so. Guys, make sure to grab a DMP shirt. You go into the draw for round one next year. Once they're gone, you cannot enter the draw. This is the only way we're doing it. And as I said, it's not like there's 10,000 people entering. You've got a relatively good chance of winning. Grab a DMP shirt. It all supports the platform, but also you get to potentially spend a night with me, Tom, and Eddie. Make sure to give the Rugby League Guru a follow. Timmy?
SC Playbook Cricket, mate, ramping up for the summer of cricket.
Oh, yeah.
SC Playbook Cricket on the socials.
Okay.
Separated them from the NRL accounts last year, so building those back up.
Yep.
Any support there would be great. Obviously, we do the Supercoach Big Bash content, but also expanding into general cricket content as well more this year. Cricketers Playbook podcast talking some general cricket. A lot of big things coming up there, so get amongst it.
SC Playbook Cricket?
Yep.
SC Playbook Cricket on Instagram. And then you cricket lovers out there, or even footy lovers that want to get into cricket, make sure to give SC Playbook a follow. Hammy?
I was just going to say, should we just whack in just for the first T20?
Yes.
Now, look, because it's on Thursday, the market's not up yet, so you're going to have to go off the top of the dome here.
Oh,
Just a head-to-head winner, and you could either give me a top bowler or batter for either team. Just one. I don't need a batter and a bowler. Just whatever you're feeling most confident on for the game. And if your player's not named, just whoever slots in for him, we'll sub him in. So the first game's I believe it's at the Gabba on Thursday night, first T20. Just lost 2-1 to Pakistan as well, so should be interesting. Maybe as SC Playbook's firing up again, Timmy, and you're back this week, you can take the new ball here. Who would you like to
I always love taking the new ball.
Yep.
That's a lie. Mate, Nathan Ellis, top wicket taker, the absolute stalwart of the T20 squad. So going with Ellis there and top run scorer. Then Josh,
you just give me one. Just one.
Oh,
of
you're
those,
not one.
and then
Oh,
head to
sweet.
head.
Nathan Ellis then.
Yep. Okay, Nathan Ellis, top wicket taker.
I'm going to go Maxwell, top scorer.
He's due.
He's due.
Reading his book at the moment. Very good, The Showman.
He's going to bounce back.
Yep.
Obviously, Australia win.
Yep.
I'm going to go Australia win and give me Zampa, top wicket.
Yep.
Australia to win.
Matthew?
Straight to win. Fraser McGurk runs.
Is it less? Who has less chance? Like, is top, like, runs?
Yep.
Is that, have I got given myself less chance? Like, is it?
Look,
Actually,
Maxi
that's a great point.
Maxi,
Yeah,
well,
you
he kind
definitely
of
have.
floats around in the order. If he's down the order,
Considering
it
you picked a bowler, you probably have.
might be tough. But if
Okay,
we keep batting how we've been batting, and we're 4 for not many, you're every chance. You know, he's going to get a good long innings.
He doesn't need long, Maxi.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It's not bad. There'll be a bit of value around Maxi.
Okay,
I'm going to go straight away. I'm going to go Harris Rauf, top wicket taker for Pakistan. He's been on
He's
fire.
such a weapon.
He's so quick.
He's so good.
Too quick for him.
100%.
Too quick.
Agreed.
As you always say, Kempy. Yep.
Been saying that. Said that in the green room earlier.
Yep.
Alrighty, give us a follow on the feed. Thanks to Sportsbet. As always, make sure to give Rugby League Guru a follow. You got some content dropping from the day from yesterday's?
Yeah, we do, mate. Got a heap coming out over the next week or so.
All right, so stay tuned for that. And as usual, we'll all go fuck ourselves. Thank you.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.